Hello and welcome to Roleplay Rejects, where we play new and unusual tabletop role-playing games. This season we are playing City of Mist, a noir-style game where myths and legends inhabit human hosts, for better or for worse.
Welcome to an ad. Food.
Riggedy restart.
Restart rejects. We're rambling.
I don't really want to banter. I just want answers.
To all of life's questions.
That's okay. We don't have to banter, I guess.
But I love talking about stuff that's not relevant to the podcast.
Okay, pop off.
I don't have anything right now. Sorry. I was just hoping someone else would.
I got some. Well, maybe this is a bold statement. No, I'm not going to make this statement. I guess I started, so I have to. Get a fucking pedicure, you freaks. If you never had a pedicure in your life, bro.
They're wonderful.
Get a pedicure.
I don't like other people touching my feet.
Have you had a pedicure before?
Yes.
You can say that. Then it's
I did not like it.
That's valid.
I just do my own feet.
I'm not targeting
I got the little
you. You're not in my crosshairs, right? But everyone who's never had a pedicure.
He's talking
about
what?
Pedicure. Hardly know her.
Nope. I don't know if I'd. All right. Just go.
If you've never had a pedicure and you hate pedicures, get a pedicure. Also,
you're targeting me.
I'm not targeting you. I'm targeting everyone that's like you.
Including you. It's not all about you. It's about the people like you, too.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone that has any Damien likeness in them should be wiped away from this planet like a stain that they are.
For a second, I was
I'm just kidding.
I agree. I second that.
I'm just kidding.
I thought I was like, you
can't
say
Damien.
his real name. And I was like, wait.
sorry, Demayan.
No. I don't know why in my brain we're not allowed to use our real names.
But will now and forever only be referred to as Professor Alexander Cross.
Professor Alexander. You pose with a giant cross tattoo. Also, really sad, my nail technician doesn't work at the nail place I go to anymore. And it genuinely saddened me to see that she wasn't there.
That's what happened with one of
Because I had someone else and she was like, this wasn't the same, man.
With my hair stylist, colorist. I finally got to the point where all of my color was out of my hair because I had done a split dye. And so half of my hair was bleached.
A sply.
And so I got like a big cut. And then I'd been growing it out, several haircuts. And then they were like, sorry, she's not here anymore. Let's give you this lady who does like natural type of like natural colors and stuff. When I initially went with a stylist that was known for like doing vivids and stuff and like big hair transformations with color especially. And it was just like, bro.
Have you found another?
I stopped going there.
Have you found another stylist that does vivid stuff? Or do you
No, I just do my own hair poorly.
Dude, I want to find a hairstylist so bad.
You guys can come to the salon I go to.
Okay.
The girl that I go to, she's awesome. And she does blondes and vivids. That's like her whole thing.
Blivids.
Which is good for vivids because you have to bleach it, right? Like that's like the whole thing. But everybody at that salon is really cool because they specialize in certain hair types and certain like coloring styles. So like the girl that I go to, she's like her specialty is in blondes and vivids and then bobs, which is like what I have. But like if you have like more curly type hair, they have stylists who are like more curly based hairstylists. But then like if you want to dye your hair and you have curly hair, then they'll just have like one person cut it and one person dye it. Like they're never going to make you go to the same person necessarily because they want you to have like the best
experience you possibly can.
Yeah, it's sick. It's the best.
I want to go so bad. Let me know after we record and I can.
Yeah.
I'll
me
tell
know
you.
because I
don't tell Stevie.
Why? I just want in 6 months to go and get my hair colored.
Yeah, but I'm just feeling antagonistic.
Okay.
Lie to Stevie.
I won't.
Recommend her supercuts.
That would be awful. I'd be like, yeah,
Clips.
this really great customized salon I go to. It's
a Wendy's.
Supercuts.
Sports cuts.
Ugh.
That's the worst one.
Ugh.
I used to unironically go to sports clips.
I
Sports
just
clubs?
don't cut my
Clips?
hair for like
Is it- yeah.
months, many months,
Many moons.
like longer than I should go without cutting my hair.
I think
Dude,
that's pretty
I tried.
normal.
It's
to
just
be
a lot of
honest.
effort, man.
That's what I did
Yeah.
before.
I gotta
the
go there and sit.
But now that the incident is over,
What if I don't like the person?
the worst part about
I
getting your hair
love
styled
Kia.
or cut is that you're just a floating head, and every time you look in the mirror, it's just your head, and you're like, Jesus Christ. That's how I feel. Maybe my head's just wild, but every time I look in the mirror, and it's like,
Oh yeah, because you have the cape.
Yeah,
I was like, what do
you're
you
like,
mean you're just a
you're
head?
just a head, man.
Dude, I just close my eyes and pretend like I'm not there.
That's what I do when I'm getting
Do
my
you
eyebrows
really?
done. I do that when I'm getting my haircut.
Yeah,
all too.
I do that when I get my hair shampooed.
I'll like talk to him for like maybe 30 seconds and be like, all right, well, have fun.
Do
cutting
your
my
thing.
hair."
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Yeah.
I just kind of close
You
my
find
eyes. and zone
Nirvana.
out.
That's
Yeah.
what I respect about my old stylist. She'd like talk a little bit and then she'd be okay with the silence.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want.
Everlasting
Just-
silence.
Yeah.
Because like I'm here for 45 minutes.
Dude, you know some
Just-
people sleep right when they go to bed. Like they lay down and immediately they're like,
Dude, I used to be like
Damien
that. It
used
was
to be
great.
like that.
I was talking to my buddy and I was like, yeah, it
Did I?
usually takes me an hour to 2 to fall
Yeah,
asleep.
I would get
And
upset.
she was like, really, why? And I was like, what do you mean why?
like jealous.
I just can't sleep. And she's like, damn, couldn't be me, bro. I just fall asleep. And I was like, thanks.
just close your eyes and go to sleep, bro.
yeah, she was like, what are you doing? I was like, trying to sleep. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
I
I'll,
lay there for like an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be up, like laying in bed for like an hour on my phone. The moment that I put my phone down, 3 to 5 minutes.
No.
I'm-
When I
I'm
put my
done.
phone down, it's another at least an hour of trying to fall asleep. Almost every time.
Yeah.
I will only fall asleep right away if I'm actually exhausted.
If I take a sleep aid, I have to
Slade.
take it ahead of time if I want to just go upstairs. And I gotta be like, I gotta wait till it makes me really tired. Like I get to the exhausted point.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go upstairs and then it still takes like 10 to 15 minutes. It's not ideal.
It's the journal.
I do not sleep well. It's the dream.
I said it's the journal. You said it's not ideal. It's not delivery.
I thought you were making a sleep pun because it's the dream.
No, I should have. Wait, I'm not smart.
Hey,
That's not true.
I'm very smart. I just didn't make a sleep pun because I didn't think of it in time.
there we go.
Because I'm dumb.
No. What's wrong with you?
I don't know.
City of Mist.
There's no. It did start. Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry that we were looking at the computer. And
They
you
just
couldn't
want to.
see
They
it.
want to wrap this up so bad, bro. I'm over here.
I
yapping.
want answers, you know? Like,
Well,
what
maybe
were
we can't
everyone
have
else-
them. Maybe
Oh my
that's the
gosh.
lesson from this campaign, Damien. Is that sometimes our quest end in nothing.
All right, well, that's it. Rejects.
Roll, yeah,
This
you're
ended
stinky.
because of Wesley. Here's his home address if you want to.
Hey, give him a piece of your mind. I'll fucking hit you with the gum. No, City of Mist.
I'm just imagining you throwing like Bazooka Joe bubblegum. That'd do some damage.
Those
Yeah.
ads.
That
Those
gum
got
gum, they're gonna
hard.
hurt.
Yeah.
Those ads went crazy. Some bubblegum, bazooka. They were good ads. They were fun. City of Mist.
City Mist.
Who wants to recap? I'll do it. I cut that idiot's arm off. I said, "Ching, wow."
Well, I mean, do we need to
Second
recap?
noise.
No.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this, you should have listened to everything else. So, like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they picked a random
Spoiler
episode
alert.
to start on, and they
they were
decided.
like,
They
let's
were
see
like,
what
oh.
the end's like.
this episode titled Epilogue.
It's like when you read
That sounds
the last couple pages of a book before you read the book.
Why would
Dude,
you do
that's
that?
wild. No one should ever do that.
But you know people do that.
I accidentally
yeah.
did
Okay,
that.
thank you.
I hate those people.
It's crazy.
That's really awkward
It's-
because I
it's-
totally used to do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you're the
crazy.
worst.
Wow. Hey, I never did that.
Why?
Good.
Let's get married.
Me either.
You want to know if it's worth it, bro?
I'm bad at reading.
Yeah,
Because
read
I'm
the
bad.
first couple pages then.
Just read the
No.
back of the book.
No.
Or the back of the book.
No, disagree because
Yeah.
no.
Wait, hold on. Rebut.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thanks.
You're wrong.
You guys don't get any answers.
No, please. I want to know why people do this.
Joseph, leave the room so he can hear the answer. You
So-
can never listen to recording.
You have rain?
When I was a kid, I used to do that because I'm bad at reading. And everybody always puts their best foot forward for their first couple of pages. Like that's like their very best writing. So yeah, if you read the first page, like it's going to be probably decent, right? But the last part of the book, if it ends stupid and the writing's crappy, I'll know. So I would read the last couple pages to determine on whether or not my brain was ready to read the entire freaking book. And because I have ADHD, I don't remember the last couple pages. So when I go to read them for the second, sometimes third time, when I finally finish the book, it's brand new. Or I'm like, oh yeah, now it all makes sense, right? But I don't have that in mind as I'm reading the actual book. But like, I can usually tell when there's like a terrible, like when the writing's terrible, because the end of the book is trash. I don't read like the whole chapter. I just read like the last page or page and a half ish. And
That's wild.
Have you never read the back of a book and thought like, oh, maybe this would make more sense if I read everything up to this point? Like, is that not like, is there not like a middle ground where like the writing's decent, but it seems weird, but maybe it's weird because I don't have the context?
no,
That's crazy.
because like the context isn't important in that moment to determine whether or not I like the author's writing style.
I guess, yeah,
Like-
that makes sense, I guess.
If their writing style is dumb,
I don't want
I
to read
will
the book.
know.
But why not flip to the middle of the book? Because
You don't want spoilers.
What?
because
I feel like there's going to be more spoilers in the beginning of the book or in the middle of the book than there is.
at the end.
What if you read the end of the book and it's like the protagonist dies?
Usually there's like a page after that happens.
What if there
Yeah.
isn't? What if that's how the book ends?
It sucks.
Okay.
You're gonna
Again, back to I have forgotten by the time I fully read the book.
I used
That's
to read
what
a
I
book
read at the
in
end.
like a day, so I don't think I would have forgotten.
I just read Unnamed Dragon novel Terrible, and it ends with this girl being like,
Spoilers.
"Yeah, here's some spoilers. I didn't give you the title for a reason,
Yeah, find the book.
and I didn't like it." But it ends with this girl who you think her brother's been dead the entire book, and then the final line is, "Brother said, 'Welcome to the rebellion.'" Like, if you read that, it would have just destroyed half of the like storyline of the book.
I would have
Yeah,
just
but you
been like
said that
question
was
mark,
dumb.
question mark, question
Oh
mark.
yeah, the book was terrible.
Yeah, so
But that final line is not that terrible.
Well, they're not
It's kinda
just-
cool.
You're not gonna
It
read
is
just
kinda
the last
cool.
sentence.
It is kind of cool. Not gonna lie. But the music's been playing for a minute now.
but also like I don't do that all the time, and I haven't done it in a long time.
yeah,
But I did used to do it a lot as a kid because audiobooks did not exist.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like I had to
Audiobooks existed. They were just cassette books, and they were a pain.
Oh,
Okay, yeah,
they
so I
did
needed to
exist.
go
They
to
did
the
not exist.
library.
They did not exist.
Dude, I lived at the
I
library.
love the library, but
Nerds.
compared
Yeah.
to where my house is
The
to
library
where
was
the library
not
is,
close.
it was not close.
Everyone's pissed. Everyone's like, "What
Even
happened?"
I know the
Speaking of
library wasn't.
libraries-
Yeah,
It's because-
all our listeners.
How do you not
Alexander.
know that,
I
Joseph?
biked
Stop
30
fighting.
minutes to the library.
Okay,
You bite 30 minutes. in the
my
library?
parents wouldn't let me out
It
of the
was like
house
20.
unless they were home.
Oh yeah, well I
So-
had to walk to school uphill both ways.
Yeah,
That's what
spikes
I'm
on the
saying.
ground, barefoot.
You're upset about something that like
I biked
I
to
can't
work uphill both
change.
ways once.
Why
I
can't
don't know
you?
what you want from me.
There was a hill, and that's how hills work.
City Mist.
Speaking of hills, the city serves hilly.
Yep.
No, because they
City
go like
Mist.
this, so it is uphill both ways.
It's
Oh,
City,
shit, you're right.
City of Mist. City of Mist.
We don't need to recap. Do you want to like do like an epilogue or whatever?
Not
That's
really.
what this is.
Yeah, but like usually the last episode is like our thoughts of the game. I don't know if there's anything we need to wrap up in character before we get into that.
Yeah, if that's up to you guys. Like, if you have things you want to talk about in character, I don't have like a cool ending for you. I have a couple of answers if you'd like them.
Yes.
Dibs.
What was
where, like-
Daniel saying?
Oh, hold on. I do have a character thing. If we want to do that first.
Yeah, we'll do that first.
Okay.
But like, think of questions that you have for me, and
Who
I'll do
framed
my
Roger Rabbit?
best to answer them. However,
What is love?
I won't necessarily
don't hurt
give
me.
you all of the answers, just in case we do ever play this storyline again.
Who done it?
I don't know if we will or not, but I don't want to like
Cool.
spoil into the story arc if that ends up being the case. So I will only answer questions about the 2 cases that you have already done.
Well, who did the third case? Sorry, Damien.
Probably
go
you.
ahead. I'm evil.
Well, if you tell us right now, it's kind of like reading the end of the book.
Okay,
Okay.
By the time we get around to it, we will forget.
Please, you have a character.
Oh my god.
We genuinely would forget. No.
Not me.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Immediately after the whole incident up in that tower,
The Faraday.
we moved to like heading out of the elevator, and the professor is a little bit pretty quiet until, and probably in the cop cars, we're headed back to the city. TM. The professor will just pipe up once just to say, "You nearly killed the man.
I did.
Why?
Did you? He came at me with a mech suit.
You could have possibly disabled him in a less violent way.
Did-
The man only had 2 appendages, and now only 1.
He had a flamethrower and a giant hammer on his back. What do you think police work is? Like, I understand that up to this point it's been all like, oh, let's solve the case. Oh, let's talk him down. But like, what if he killed me in that punch? Do you think you guys just walk out of there?
You dodged the punch quite effectively.
Yeah. But he still has a flamethrower on his arm and a hammer on his back. All it takes is me hesitating one time, and then OP's dead. I didn't enjoy cutting his arm off. I didn't see any other way to stop him. If any of you died there, that's my fault.
Sorry.
But what will happen to him?
My guess is he'll first get medical attention, and then people smarter than me will see whether or not he can be peacefully rehabilitated. It's not really up to me from this point.
Do they have visiting hours?
Honestly, I don't think anyone's ever asked that, but I can look into that for you.
Thank you. I believe he would have information that I desire.
Cool.
And then he's silent the rest of the ride.
Oof.
That was it.
Oof.
That was tense.
Yeah.
Like camping.
Oh my gosh.
Olivia has nightmares about it. That's it.
Oh.
Because she saw, like, she was headed towards Professor Cross. So she got pretty decent view of the wound as well.
Mm.
And it's one of the more fucked up nightmares that wasn't, like, her own fault.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to resolve?
I have a question. I don't know for sure.
Never texted back.
He's like, why the fuck is my sister texting
Why
me?
she like?
Why is she worried, bro? He sends you a text. It's just bread 100. Unless anybody else has any other scenes they want to act out, I just have questions.
Okay. Cool. Well, that concludes your guys' time as
these
Times
characters.
New
Trivia New
Trivia
Roman.
No
Trivia New Roman?
whatever. Times New Roman. Trivia New Roman. Yeah.
Trivia
Okay.
notes.
Ask me questions.
Did the cops ever see Holiday and Goldie, or did they manage to slither away undetected?
They managed to slither away undetected.
Good for them.
Beautiful.
If they watched it, like if they went through footage, they might have seen them, but there wasn't enough of a lead to be able to
Follow up on
figure-
anything?
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
What were their myths?
So you guessed the So his name was Maximilian Drake. You guessed it,
Hephaestus?
his Hephaestus.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
And then the Carnies.
I want to guess the strongman is Hercules.
Nope. Theirs is a little bit weird actually because they are like their whole group is a mythos.
There's one mythos.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
So they're Sintians, a strange traveling folk of raiders, pirates, and plunderers who nursed Hephaestus back to life after he fell from Olympus.
Whoa.
That's fucking
That's
cool.
so
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Oh.
I would never have
that
guessed
makes
that 'cause I
sense
didn't
because
know
he was
they
in an
exist.
accident. He
Yeah.
couldn't do his work anymore. He found these clowns, and they were like, "Damn, bro, come on in."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And then in return, Hephaestus was, making that jaw improvement and all that stuff.
Yeah, and like in the story, they become his followers, and that's essentially what they were doing with
that's why they were
Drake
so protective
too.
of
Is
him.
that yeah, they're protective of him, and because of that, and also like they followed his whole philosophy on like that rifts needed to be eliminated.
Hmm.
So,
Cool.
but that's why he was also so excited to talk to Professor Alexander, because he had talked their ears off about his like plans and upsets and things like that, and so he was like, yes, someone who I haven't told this before, like
Please listen to my monologue.
yeah, essentially, right? So yeah, that one I definitely didn't expect anybody to guess. If you guys had, I would have been like bewildered.
Yeah.
But you did guess Hephaestus, and I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Yeah.
That's all, just the fucking automatons that he had. Just
Mhm.
wild.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Is Pauline dead?
She is dead.
Okay.
Was she in
Was
that
she in
pile?
that giant?
She was.
Damn.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
tell her-
Unfortunately,
wife.
you didn't roll super well when you're trying to look for ghosties in that area, if I remember correctly.
Cool.
You didn't look up. Was the issue?
But if you had been able to chat with her, that would have been like a whole thing where
Cool.
she like
Okay.
talked to you about what happened. But essentially what had happened was she was going to work, doing her thing, and David came to kill her so that he could end up with Ellie, which is wild because like he wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But there was a struggle, which is why David had beating markings,
Mhm.
bruising, you know what I mean.
drugs and flounce.
Mhm. But he ended up pulling a gun on her and he shot her.
Jesus.
But then there was an Ellie automaton, which is the mannequin that you ended up seeing in
Mhm.
the
In the shack.
shack. That looked a lot like her, but then it obviously wasn't. And they had poisoned lipstick on it that was the same shade as Ellie's that she wears all the time.
Why was it poisoned?
Because
Can
they
I guess?
wanted to kill him.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, why?
I was
I
gonna,
would have figured it was meant for Pauline.
that was my guess was gonna be, is that
Yeah.
it was intended
Mhm.
for Pauline.
Nope.
Honestly, I guess it would work for either of them, really.
Oh, she was probably like, meet me at the fairground.
Yeah, she disappeared with a book. Yeah, probably.
So the thing is that Ellie's a sleeper, right?
Mhm.
So they don't care what happens to Ellie, but Pauline and David are both rifts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they just needed a way for the two of them to kill each other, right?
Mhm.
So it was easy once David knew about Pauline working on the fairground that like for him to be able to find her easily, right?
Mm.
And he was in enough of a weird headspace that made sense to him. But then he wasn't expecting Pauline to be like a giant, and so he did get beat up a little bit.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, but like just because you're a giant doesn't mean you're impervious to guns. So
Was there anything in the Cave of Wonder or in the bar set in the Funhouse
The things we missed.
that would have like killed OP or Olivia?
yeah, had OP gotten onto the merry-go-round,
Is that where he was being led?
if you had like gotten on it, it would have like turned on and started going, and then essentially it was going to like keep you awake, like essentially like hypnotize you
Whoa.
to stay awake,
Okay.
because
Crazy.
you're already sleep deprived, and so it would just fully sleep deprive you. And then the hypnosis
Hypnosil?
there was going to be drinks that would be like automatically served with some of the hypnosil in it, which would have made Olivia sleep, which the deep cut of that is in Nightmare on Elm Street. Hypnosil is a fake drug that makes you not sleep. But in this version, it would have made Olivia sleep so that she was just reliving her sleep paralysis
So that-
type awful dreams.
Damn, I was thinking when she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I could just pour myself a drink. I'm glad.
I was honestly, I was hoping that you would at some point, not because I wanted to kill you, but that was like going to be the dilemma, right? Was that potentially, however, other things played out, like they either watched you on screen, like fall over, and obviously then they have that problem to solve, or they were like, where the heck is Olivia? We don't know. And yeah, but you didn't end up drinking, and Drake, because he was talking to Professor Cross, didn't have a chance to go back to you and talk to you more. And when he came back to talk to you, that was when he was going to offer a drink, and it was going to be like a machine that he had created that's like essentially a barista that would, it's not like an automaton, but it's like kind of Jetsons-y, where it's like,
So it's like,
it makes
"Oh,
drinks for
dude."
you.
Yeah.
I would have been super suspicious of that drink.
As you should
Yeah,
be.
you should have been
Yeah.
after seeing Goldie for sure. But yeah.
Was Professor Alexander Cross being brought over into the tower, was that your creation, or was that something that the story, like the book, wanted?
So that was mainly me. There's like a piece where like if they don't die in their trap, you can bring them back to the tower, and he'll like have them watch their friends die.
Jesus.
But my whole plan for you was to go straight to the tower, because his ideology made sense to me that it would like mesh well with Professor's in some manner, and so I thought it would be cool for them to like interact more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Did Alex have a trap room?
So not really. The bulk of the trap for you, let me pull my notes out. Yeah, so the bulk of the trap for you was going to be like your friends getting trapped. Because your whole thing is like saving innocence. But then those things didn't really play out the way that I thought they were going to. So at the very end, in the original way I had created it, you were going to essentially be called by Drake to the tower, because the three of them, so like OP would be like awake but like not there. Olivia would be asleep, like visibly having nightmares, and then Professor Cross, depending on whether he decided to like side with Drake or not would also be in the equation. But then he would call you there and be like, you have a choice to make.
That's my nightmare.
Type
by the
of
way.
like, which one are you going to save?
Mhm.
And originally the shell swapping game was going to be like, they just stole it from you, period. Like there was no way for you to actually get it back. And then they would have it when they like you made the choice, and it was like shell game 2.0, like whichever, like one of them was holding your bracelet, and so you would be able to fight depending on like the quote unquote right choice. But there was a lot that did not happen up like before that like when we got to that portion, I was just like, this is going to overcomplicate things, and everybody's already stressed, and I don't need to add like that
Like
on
another
top
layer.
of all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I have a question.
Hmm.
How would they have kidnapped? I guess they could have gone through that weird door in the bar. I was going to say, how would they have kidnapped the professor if I had had him go first?
yeah, it would have been
But I forgot that they
the
have
reverse. Yeah, he was going to get kidnapped pretty much either way. It was just going to be, it was going to depend on how you rolled as to whether or not you like found him before he was like fully taken. Yeah. But either way, he was going to get kidnapped. Which made it really nice for me when you two decided to go into the funhouse instead of going over to the set building thing. Because I was like, okay, cool. That makes kidnapping him a lot easier. Like, yeah.
Neat.
What other questions do you have?
What was Daniel saying?
Oh, let me
Who's
pull up
Daniel?
His ghost. Yeah, he lives with.
the ghost that
Oh,
hangs out in my house.
to find the photo that I took of his original thing. It says it's like originally, right? He didn't have but the note is supposed to say, I'm looking for a ring. It was my mom's.
Oh.
Cool. Okay.
But that's
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What the fuck was that camera?
so it was a device that Drake created
that's
for
cool.
Tom Holliday to be able to take pictures of rifts in their true form, because normal cameras don't capture it. So he created a camera specifically for that, which is why you were able to see pictures of Pauline like as a giant instead of just Pauline looking real jacked, right? So that's what that camera was.
Cool.
And Danny DeVito was just one of the carnies, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I was looking when I was like flipping through my pages. I just saw something about Danny DeVito, and I forgot about that. It was just like Danny DeVito runs away, and I was like, "What?" And then I remember, like, it was like just a couple seconds of what? When was he here?
What happened to the spider?
He went to, they have like, I don't want to call it a zoo, but it's essentially a zoo in the precinct where they keep like magical creatures. But it's kind of cool because they have like rift zoologists that care for them and whatnot. But it's just
Do
like,
they have any
not,
unicorns in there?
Unicorns don't exist.
Sasquatch.
Giant spiders.
no, Sasquatch is a person.
That's crazy. That's the person behind it all.
But yeah, so he's being taken care of.
That's nice.
Good.
Ah, they can feed him Mothman.
Goodness.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Mothman is a terror.
I mean, it's
I
still
mean,
a person.
yeah, it
though.
could be a
No,
guy.
not really.
Yeah, okay, neither is
They
Excalibur.
called him
bro.
Mothman because he was a giant, creepy moth creature.
Yeah, but in this game, he could just be like a guy who works at 7-Eleven selling you slushies.
Oh yeah, I
bro.
forgot that he was.
I was
Well,
just
he
thinking,
should stop tormenting people in fields
He's
in the
in a
middle of the
furniture
night,
store
like a
and he like
weirdo.
he's in a furniture store and he like specializes in selling lamps.
I was just thinking of how cool Sasquatch would be as a myth.
Just really hate
Because
cedar.
like no camera could pick you up because it's all
Ooh,
just
yeah.
like
You're always
distorted,
blurry.
you're
And
always-
oh my god, that would be cool.
Yeah.
All right,
What?
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
All the pictures of him are really fucked up.
Oh. But then you'd never get good pictures of yourself.
A blessing
Yeah.
and a curse.
Blessing.
Any other
The-
questions?
The opposite of Barney Stinson.
I don't like. I'm trying to because we can't really ask like what's going on at Mending the Broken because that's
Yeah, I don't.
probably
I want to eventually play
answered
this more. Probably.
Yeah.
Let's see. We already asked stuff about Martha. We pretty much got everything I think from David. He's just kind of a creep.
Is
Yeah.
Das's partner okay? Is he okay now? I want him to be
He's getting
recovered.
better.
Okay.
He's just
Still recovering.
he was pretty
Yeah.
wrecked. So yeah. And a lot of it's like mental health type
Yeah.
stuff too, because he was like banshee screamed at.
Mhm.
So he'll get on his feet eventually, but it's just slow.
My original thought with the glaive. This isn't a question. This is just kind of a statement. Because I was like, it was kind of a mental coin flip about whether or not I was gonna like go for a more lethal hit. My initial thought with the glaive was to stab him in the chest and then turn it into a scythe and just bisect him.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
But then I was like, no, I should just not do that first. If they jumped me, that's what I was gonna kill him. I was gonna try to kill him in one hit if they all
Yeah.
came at me.
Yeah. Well, and they were going to. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about that real quick. We talked about it off mic, but I know that sounded like a really cheap, like final battle kill thing, but it was legit. The stats for the mechanist, for Drake's,
Isn't that from Fallout?
Mechanist?
maybe, I don't know.
Mechanist.
Fallout 3, there was like the ant person and then the mechanist who had their robot going out and about. And then
Yeah,
also
that sounds right.
Fallout 4 had a DLC about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. So there were two ways to stop him. There was to decommission the suit at a tier 5, or there was cure of hatred at a tier 6.
Oh,
So when he rolled tier 6, like
it was done.
it was done.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, when I realized that it was a tier 6, it was going to be a tier 6 status. I was like, oh my gosh, that.
which is
Didn't know
also
we'd
why the
see it.
carnies didn't come after him, because like he intimidated 6, right? So they were supposed to come fight him as well, but I don't know if I wouldn't if I were them.
I probably wouldn't
After
if
that.
I saw someone chop off a mech arm, and I am merely made of skin and one metal jaw.
Yeah.
I also, and we talked about this off mic as well. I did appreciate after last episode, like it was like pretty mutually critical, because like I don't remember exactly what it was, but she read me those punches and they fucking hurt.
Oh yeah. So getting punched by him would be a broken limbs 4 status.
Damn.
So
Okay.
it would have been like 2 or 3 punches for I think I originally said that it was a tier 5 for 6, but it's a 4. Regardless though, it would have been like 2 or 3 punches, and
Yeah, at least permanently
Alex
out of
would
the
have been
fight,
rough.
if not dead. Yeah.
and then the 3 of you, it'd be like 1 or 2 and you probably wouldn't be able to do much. So yeah, it was honestly like I was prepared for that to be like a brawl. The then it didn't have to be. And I think that that's okay.
I like you like use the verbiage like I think like something along the lines of like cheap funnel fight. I thought it felt really good just because it felt really tense, right?
Yeah.
And I also I like that it seemed we play a lot of games, a lot of TTRPGs in general. I think are very like fantasy combat in the sense that like people are like fighting with magical weapons, throwing fireballs, and like getting hit by fireball and being okay, right? So it was like kind of cool that on both sides this fight felt very mortal, right? Because in my headspace, I didn't know how strong those punches were going into that, right? But I was like, if he like decides to take anyone else hostage, or God forbid, decides to swing at anyone else, they could just die. And it was like, I've had that thought playing Pathfinder, for example, but it's never urgent, right? It's always like,
You can heal them.
you can heal them, and they probably won't go down in one shot, right? But when we walked into that room, I was telling Missy this off mic after the last episode. When we walked into that room, like the reason I opened up with trying to intimidate them was because I was like, if any of them get hurt, like any one of us could die really fast, like particularly anyone but me. And I am one dude. I can't fight 3 people while protecting 3 other people, right?
Yeah, because like, I mean, Prof doesn't have any
Yeah.
combat ability.
I was thinking of doing like the stop holding back thing and trying to like if it came to that point, because I was so stressed. I'm like really glad that you did just kind of like and intimidate him out of fighting, because I was like, I don't want to try and like burn a whole freaking everything in a theme or something, and like just to kind of stun them a little bit with
fear,
horrifying nightmares.
Yeah,
that would have been sick too.
My only thing that's even close to combat is my Swiss Army knife. That
Yeah,
would not have gone
I was
through.
gonna use my switchblade to free Professor Cross, and that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there is a way to play this game where it's more combat kind of a focus, but I
Yeah,
think it's more
definitely.
set up for, I mean, how we
Diplomacy.
played it. Because there is a world in which we don't have the fucking powerhouse that is Alex to like
To fight.
destroy this fucking guy, and we have to like slowly like I think how this would work is we would have to like slowly scale up our like the status, because I think if you get like multiple instances of a status, it goes up by 1. So
Yep.
we'd be doing like 1 status tier 1, status tier 1, status tier 1, and hopefully that would be
Eventually
enough.
changes mind. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a world where you play this game and everybody is combat oriented and
Yeah.
everybody is like
Squaring
ready to
up.
fight
Yeah.
whatever pops up.
Yeah, we could have been the Knights of the Round. That would have been way
Yeah.
different. I think this would be a really fun game for that too. Then we all could have been Relic Hunters.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, so
I also really like. It really did feel like. I liked how. And like I think we all do a pretty good job at this. But like I like how we had death set up, but it never felt forced. Like it was just like she made a scenario in which these characters would die, and then let us fumble around to either fumble into it or avoid it. Right? Like I never felt like someone was unjustly being ushered towards death. And it was cool because then when we slithered out of threatening situations, it was like we slithered out of threatening situations, right? Like we found some other way to not die.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. I really like this whole, like this, from entering the fairgrounds on in particularly was like really like, it was tense the whole time, but it never felt like unfair. And I really appreciate that. Because
Yeah.
I think sometimes, like, I think that is a hard line to walk is like, how do I like tense my, like, make my players anxious without putting them in situations that just feel unfair, right? And I think you did a really good job in this whole scenario.
thanks. It was difficult. I don't remember if I said this on mic or not, but like having all of you guys split up is so hard to manage.
Yeah, it's a pain.
But that's how this module is written, is like eventually the goal is to split everybody up. I can't imagine having a larger table than the 4 of you. I would have lost my mind.
6 of us, that would be crazy.
But I think that's kind of a cool dynamic, just story wise, that they threw that in there, right? Because there are tables who never, ever, ever split the party, right? And so that like forces them to play in a way that is like different for them. But as a GM, that was really hard to manage. I don't know how people do that regularly, because it's like you want to make sure that everybody's getting enough time to do something.
Yeah.
And also there's so many things going on. And you're like, eventually this will all make sense together, but it doesn't right now. And I'm so sorry. Just bear with me.
No, it's really, really
So-
hard, dude.
Yeah. And I think you handled it well.
Yeah, I think you did a
Like,
really good job.
Also, like we went in here and I was like, "There's no way we're gonna split up. Like, what on earth could possibly
Yeah,
get us?"
I know
to-
we're like super down to split all the time. I too was like, ain't no way I'm letting these clowns out of my sight, dude.
Right.
and then
and
it was
then
just
they-
like it was all,
And then we're gone. Everyone's alone, and I'm like
how the
playing
fuck did
playing peekaboo with these carnies, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, bro! Like, yeah, how did we get here?
fucking A.
It was really fun.
Yeah, this thing was really fun.
Oh, I said this off mic. This isn't like a question, or it's not super story relevant, I guess. But I did want to add the flavor text that like the reason in my brain why Alex never used Excalibur as a sword, is because I imagine when he was training with Excalibur, he mostly trained with it as a sword, and so he reserves that weapon in particular for when he is trying to actively kill his opponent.
Mhm.
And
That's really cool character wise because I'm just imagining in like an anime
mhm.
when like you just use it for other weapons, but then you come across a serious opponent and then it turns to a sword.
And I was
And
even
it's like,
telling
Excalibur.
it might have just been
truest
Misty. It might have been
form.
I think it was Misty and Damien, but I was telling them like I imagine like the bracelet itself kind of has like because it is what holds the mythos. It kind of has like its own like personality, and so it usually looks cool and extravagant and golden, even as weapons because it's just a gold bracelet. But when I do turn it into a sword and use it as a sword, it gives off like a faint glow because Excalibur prefers to be a sword.
Cool.
So yeah, I think that's really cool in my brain.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. I do want to say too, like just as a little extra flavor, I guess, because I think that's good to know. The professor is more mad at Alex not because he almost killed a guy. He doesn't give a shit about that.
That's crazy.
It's because he almost got rid of a source of knowledge.
That's respectable.
Well, you think so?
It's kind of fucked up to me.
Yeah, it's both those things.
Yeah. Well, it's more that like he didn't get to ask all the questions that he had.
And you might be able to.
Might be
In
able
the
to, because
future,
if you
far,
guys
far
didn't
from
go
now.
up there,
Yeah, you were still
3
chatting him
weeks
up.
later, he's still up there.
Yeah, and that's cool. That makes sense in his character.
Yeah, I imagine he's going to be trying to like, almost like going to visit Hannibal as he's all locked up,
Yeah.
like that kind of a vibe.
That's exactly what I was picturing.
If there are no more questions, we can move on to game review.
Yeah.
Was there really quick though for like the game as a whole? I think we've already done this for like the other sessions, but was there anything we didn't stumble into that you wish we did stumble into, or did we pretty much manage to find most things?
There were story beats that I wish you guys had interacted with more, but like they weren't imperative, right? Like it's hard because, and I'm sure anybody who's ran a module before, or even if you've created your own homebrew, like sometimes people just don't
You just don't
run
bite.
into it, and it's like,
Yep.
dang.
Hmm.
Like in the first case, there's this guy called the Snatcher, and he's a ghoul that comes to like take bodies, because he like feeds off of the bodies, but
Yep.
that's why like there's like a lack of evidence in the city for like when people die and they go missing, like it's because like this ghoul thing happens. So like
that was in the
Damn.
first case.
Mhm.
That's
Dang.
crazy.
And
Okay.
the reason that you would have found out about him is because Martha would have called him to come get John Nowak, when she thought she was going to kill him, but then he ran away. And so you guys would have ran into the Snatcher at that point because he's come to collect a body that isn't there. And like there's just like a whole thing, but like it just end up being relevant, right? Like I could have thrown it in there, but then it would have been like,
It would have felt weird.
it just wasn't.
We would have gone off on that lead.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, we
And
were- we were already yapping
we,
in that,
We
yeah.
did not need more leads. So I chose not to introduce
probably
him,
the
but I
best
was like,
choice, yeah.
oh, but he's so cool and gross. I love him. So there's just kind of things like that where I was like, dang it. I wish that, but there were also things that like you guys created that didn't exist that then I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, guess we're going with that,
Yeah.
I also want to ask, was it hard like balancing what's in the module and like what we brought as like PCs? I feel like that would be hard. But maybe I'm just built different negatively.
I'm gonna say yes and no, and I know that's a cop out, but like
She's calling me out.
No, so I'll start with this. Yes, it was hard because like you think you're okay-ish at improv until right? Like until everybody is like completely derailing what you have written in front of you, and it's like, okay, like I'm not gonna tell you no, but how are we gonna get back to the club? So that in that aspect that was hard, and I personally feel like that might be less difficult if you're a more seasoned GM. Like I'm not a seasoned GM, so I feel like it was extra hard for me in that regard because I was like, well, I want you guys to have fun and like create your own story, but I've got I got pages
beats I have to
to
hit,
yeah.
right? Like yeah.
And I think that in and of itself is kind of difficult and extra inherent to investigation games in particular, right? Because like you have to find clues in order to move on in the story. Whereas like in a game like Pathfinder or D&D or whatever, right? Like if they don't find it, they can find it in the next village, right? But like and you can do that to a certain extent with certain clues in here. But like I can't be like, you find Martha's therapist's card on the street, and you're like, what? Why was that on the street? And like, because
How
that's
do we
where
know
you're
it's Martha's?
Yeah. It's like, well, that's where you chose to investigate, so you found it. Please move on, right? Like I can't really do that without it being weird
and feeling handled-y.
So I think in that regard that was a little difficult. But again, I think that's more because I'm not as experienced with trying to manage the story. Whereas like as a player, like you're just in charge of like what your character does. So that was a little bit difficult. The reason I say no, though, no, it wasn't that hard, was because your guys' characters actually lended themselves really easy to the story that was like to this module. Like I really want to keep going with this story arc because I did not influence any of your characters as much as I possibly could. Like I would throw out ideas and stuff during character creation, but like I did not force your guys' hand, and all of you fit very well into this storyline. Like all 10 of the cases, like they, and I was so excited because I was like, oh, sick. Like each one of you will have a large part to play, like just based off of the mythos and the type of character, like your logos and your mythos, like those all fit really well into the story. And it was on accident. I was like,
that's
okay.
Sick.
Like, for example, Joseph was going between OP and
Paul Bunyan.
And I was like, oh no, I guess I re-season case number 2. Like, okay, hopefully you have a wife. If not, like, I'll
figure it out.
Change it. And I had figured out a new story to create in case he did choose Paul Bunyan. But like, it was weird. I was like, oh,
crazy.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
bro.
you said so. So yeah. Hopefully that answered
I
it.
have a reason to go to a therapist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you have mental health issues. Weird. That's so weird.
I'm sure that won't be relevant at all to the story.
That's so strange that there's a large story beat. It's all about therapy. Yeah.
So I know we talked about it a bit offline, but was it difficult trying to manage basically my whole myth, like with the whole divination thing and like trying to blend in that like feasibly I do have the info, but no, I don't also to make it fair.
Yeah, so it was a little bit difficult, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One, because I misunderstood and I thought you had a relic. Even though we had gone through character creation, in my mind you kept referencing the book, and so that's what my brain latched onto was the book and not the fact that like you had like the divination portion. And so it wasn't until like halfway through the game that I was like, oh shit. Because we had that conversation and I was like, bro, I thought you were a relic this whole time. Like, I thought your book was a relic this whole time, which that was on me, right? Like, I just fixated on the wrong portion. But that changes things, right? Because your book getting stolen, for example, would be possible if it's a relic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible if it's you, right?
Yeah.
So that was my own stunt with that. But then the other thing that was difficult was like trying to balance that, because it's like I want to give you the freedom to like do cool shit with your character, and also I don't want to give all of the answers automatically, even if you roll well, right? Because then the case is like 2 seconds long and nobody else gets to do anything and showcase their powers. So that one was a little bit difficult, but I think in the end, like if you're playing with a character that's similar to Professor Cross, or you have a player who's playing someone who's similar, like you've just got to be good about talking to them and both of you being willing to like give and take. Because like, again, like as a player, you want to do cool things. So like, it's lame to be told all the time that like, nope, you don't have that info. And you're like, but I want to.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like as a player, you also have to realize that like the other players want to do cool things too. So I don't think that's an issue with our table. But I have played with other people who that it does become an issue with. And so I think that type of character is something that you're going to want to be careful with if you're playing this game, just to like make sure that as the MC, you're balancing things as much as possible. And as the player, that you're like willing to acknowledge that the MC is trying to manage everybody's story. And they're probably, you would hope, probably not telling you no because they're trying to spite you. Like it's probably because they are hoping that somebody else will find that information somehow else or whatever. But also I loved your character concept. So it was like, once you came up with it, I was like, well, that's super cool. It's going to feel very overpowered, I'm sure. But it's so cool. Like, I don't want to not have that in the story, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's just like a good GM tip. Actually saw a video of XP to level 3 where basically he was trying to show that like good GMs will try and like make your character concept work within the confines, but just like having that conversation. So like, yeah, I think if you are playing this and you have someone with divination, put a limiter on there somehow. Like for mine, it's all in Latin, but it's in like weird dialects of Latin. So obviously I probably wouldn't get the right information or all of the information if it's like hard to translate.
I also think I don't want to turn this into like a, well, never mind. I also think that it's important to have those guardrails be well established, because I think it's easy for a DM to be like, yeah, you can be the Library of Alexandria, and then not tell you what your limitations will be, and then you just like kind of like Misty was saying, you just end up feeling useless, right? Because you have divination, but like you can only divine things about Egyptian gods, and how relevant would that have been, right? I don't know why that would be the limiter, but I feel like it's very easy for DMs to be like, I'm gonna put this really hard limit on you without really like expressing that beforehand, And if you had known that that would be the limit, maybe you would have switched something up, right? So it's just like communication in all things, like we always harp on about, but we say it because it's important, right?
And I think being flexible too is really important because like there were times where Damien and I would have like a back and forth about the like specifications of his character and the power and whatever. But like had we put those parameters like solidly in place before the game started, that would have been sick. But like also you don't necessarily know once you start playing, like it could be that like that's too much of a limiter, like you were talking about. And it could also be that that's like not enough, and that sucks to be like, hey, your character's still overpowered, I'm so sorry. But that's like a better conversation to have and to like continue to have than to just be like, well, he's overpowered and everybody else is miserable, but I told him at the very beginning that that's how it's going to be, you know? So yeah, communication, it's just important. Because there's so many cool concepts that you can have in this game for your characters. Like, you don't really want to limit your players in the creativity that comes with that. But you do have to kind of rein it in a little bit, which is, in my opinion, easier said than done.
And I think that's something that the game does well with the, like, having mythos and logos tags. Like, if you have all mythos, then you're not here anymore. You are a myth. And if you have all logos, then you are a guy. And so, like, it does put in a little bit of that limitation built into the game, which I like.
Yeah, I do like that mechanic about the game, the logos mythos balance.
Yeah. And like the inclusion of weakness tags, I think, is really cool too. Because it's like, yeah, you're super duper cool, except for
when your bracelet slips off.
Yeah, right. And like that sucks in the moment, but it also like helps keep you in check.
I also like how you're incentivized to use your weakness tags.
Yeah.
That I think is sick.
Yes.
I do too.
That is like one of the biggest thumbs up I like about this game.
Make your weaknesses your strength.
Yeah, that definitely was never the case for me. But I do like, well, I guess it kind of is because you hit 3 attention marks and then you can progress your whatever or do a couple of other things. But I like when people are incentivized to play into their flaws.
Yes.
I felt like in this, that was a really good way to do that.
Yeah, I agree. But that does keep the players, like the characters themselves, more grounded, regardless of like how crazy their character idea is, because they are forced to have a weakness. They're forced to have some sort of personality outside their mythos, and I think that helps reel in the potential for like ultra chaos with having something all knowing or all doing or whatever.
We are tiptoeing into the realm of what we liked about the game. Do you want to start there? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like we usually start with what we hate, and obviously we don't have to do that. I just want to, like, if we want to transition to what we liked about the game, I just want to make that transition clear.
Either way, before, I would like to say this whole time, until Misty said this otherwise just now, I thought that he had a relic.
I too thought for most of the game.
I was trying to make it apparent when, like,
it's a spectral book.
It's a spectral book, and like you try and grab it, and your hand just kind of goes.
Yeah,
through
no.
it.
Now that you say that, totally makes sense because there
was a conversation they had where he said, "Well, it's not a relic," and I was like, "Oh shit," because I hard thought that it was.
No, we totally had a role play portion.
Yeah,
where you
talked about
looked up the relic for the library of Alexandria, and when we had that conversation about how it's not a relic, I was like, I'm a fucking idiot. Like I had a whole role play session with Wesley about him looking up a relic that it doesn't exist because it's a person. But yeah, that's just it wasn't necessarily on you. It was just my brain was like book relic.
Yeah, that's valid.
It's just because like the theme is Enclave and then divination for his 2 mythos themes. And there's a separate theme for a relic.
Yes.
I just really wanted the Enclave because that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
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 It,
and then,
it's just one of those things. And like personally, if I were to GM this again, I would probably have you guys fill out your character sheets and then make copies of your character sheets so that I could keep them in front of me. Not to like make sure you're doing it right, but just so that I can remember what you are good and not good at, because and to like have reminders that like you're not a relic. You like OP can talk to animals. I
and dead animals.
forgot
Animal
about
ghosts.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, unless you like have a super brain and can remember all of the details ever about your players' characters, I suggest making copies of their character sheets for this game.
Or at the very least, a cheat sheet, like an Excel
Mhm.
document with all
Yeah,
of it, something.
Some quick
because I
reference,
did
yeah.
not, and
You still did
see
really
how that went.
well, though. Like, I feel like, sure, like we can look back and be like, oh no, we had that scene that maybe wouldn't have been exact, but we could have easily like repurposed it to asking Dash for help.
yeah,
Or like, we could also repurpose it to like the relic hunters and the people equivalent use the same like myth database.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's like in this particular instance, it's not that big a deal. But I agree. Like, it's good most of the time to have like probably some reference. But you did really well for not having a reference, because my ass would have been like, you can do what?
Yeah,
Who are you?
the amount of times that I would have to be like, what do you do again?
Yeah, exactly. Because like because you're not even just keeping track of like we clowns, you're also keeping track of like the book clowns. So it's like
Mhm.
so many mythos, I would get lost.
Yeah, and it's not like you can remember, oh, they have like a high perception score.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because everyone's power tags are individual.
Yep.
And
And
every
sometimes,
single...
like, you can't even like look at the ones in the book
Yep.
because we just made that shit up.
Yeah.
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 Which is great for customization, but a headache for the GM,
Mhm.
Yeah.
the MC.
Master of Ceremonies is still such a cool.
I really do like
That shit's
Master of
sick.
Ceremony.
That shit's sick.
I think it sounds really cool.
It sounds like there was a butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is.
I also am of the I fall into the camp of I think it should just be called GM. Because one, it's easy to remember, two, it's game agnostic, and three, it's like it's more neutral
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
the GM, right?
Yeah.
Like I like master or mistress of ceremonies is like very like, ooh, now I have to like put on a top hat and put on a
Mhm.
show, right? Like, but if I'm just like the game master, am God, the end, right? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing a top hat.
that, yeah.
Unless I want
Um,
to.
however, I do think that like the flavor is cool. I
Yeah.
just,
No, I agree with you.
I think it's easier if
Yeah,
like
I
all
don't
know if
games,
I've-
including D&D, just went to GM.
Game.
Yeah.
I would
Master.
love that.
Yeah.
That
I've
would bring me
never
joy.
once called you the MC. I don't
Yeah,
think.
me neither.
I think
It's
just
fun
always
to
been
think
GM
about.
or God.
I always just say, yeah, GM or God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing, since we're starting to get into gripes.
I was gonna say, can
That-
we start with gripes?
I
too
before
would
we
like
go-
to start
because
with
I
gripes.
like
Yeah.
to leave this being like, yay! Yeah.
So that right there is my main gripe, is everything has a different name in this
Oh,
game.
yeah.
And
We're about
if
to.
it isn't broke, don't fix it, right?
Mhm.
If GM is a term that your entire table knows, keep calling that person the GM, right? If you came from Dungeons and Dragons and you call them the DM, no one cares. They're still the dungeon master, game master, whatever. If that's what your entire table's calling them, keep calling them that. And I feel like City of Mist had to rename everything
Mhm.
possible, which makes it very unique,
Mhm.
right?
The flavor is sick.
The flavor's really cool, but
Mommy.
we all had to learn what burn was. We had to learn what invoke meant versus fade versus
Juice.
crack versus attention, juice. There are
Which I'm
still-
going to say it. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
no, and there are still some like symbols on like this tracking card that I don't know what they are, right? Because it is such a unique game that nothing translates from my prior RPG experience. Sorry.
I think juice is dumb. I think that's a dumb phrase for what it is. So like,
I agree.
maybe it's thematic somewhere. It's like real Beautiful Joe-esque. I think for what it does is a dumb name. I just wanted to squeeze that in there really quick.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, and the character sheet, these theme cards, maybe they would have made a little bit more sense if they were like individual cards, but I don't think so. I think that it's just a weird shape. I would rather a normal character sheet with like all of my like power tags near each other, all of my like mysteries and identities at the top of the page or something like that. I'm not a huge fan of this character sheet.
I
either.
disagree.
Okay.
I like this
Okay. Why do you like it?
because if we had all the power tags like together and all the mystery and identities together, then I personally would forget what the power tag, which one they're supposed to relate to.
Okay. That's fair.
I would be like, cause of distraction. Was that mental illness? Probably not, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a bad example. Yes.
I'm sure it does, but my counterpoint to that would be like, I don't think we've been in a place where, besides maybe like scaling up a mythos, like when you hit 3 attention marks, I don't think we've been in a place where it matters what your power tag is tied to, because when you make a roll, you can choose from any power tag, and in like,
Unless you're doing a look through them.
yeah, in which case it's just your mythos in general. But when it comes to like power tags, you're not limited in which things you can choose from. So like, it almost doesn't matter what it's tied to. Like in Lady Blackbird,
It does matter when you do like things like stop holding back, because if you're gonna burn all the power tags in one thing,
but you just pick one. Oh, I guess you're right, because then you would have to. Never mind.
and
You're
it's
right. In
just
that
easier
particular
to visualize. Like,
yeah,
these
these
belong
one
to
will
this,
blow up.
and then for me, it's easier to visualize how we can like level up kind of a theme, or like what theme would be best to replace.
What would benefit from what? Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it absolutely does need to be separated, especially for if you stop holding back. Because, stop holding back, and I think there might be a couple other ones.
Mhm.
At a certain point, you'll hand in your theme card and be like, it's fucking gone. Me working at Tolme University, I marked enough fate in it. This whole thing is gone. You hand the one card over, and then you gotta get a fucking new one.
Stopped showing up and got fired.
I need to qualify. I wasn't saying it doesn't matter at all. I was just saying I feel like the vast majority of the time, it is irrelevant.
Right?
Yeah,
And so,
but
like-
at some pretty important moments, like when you do the stop holding back, it's probably like a stressful moment role play wise.
Mhm.
And the last thing I'd want to do is be like, what the fuck was this? Which tags am I burning?
Mm-hmm. That's fair, valid. But I do agree with Joseph. I don't like, and maybe this is an unfair thing because we're not playing like with the separate cards.
I think I would like it better if the cards were
Yeah, I
separate.
think the cards might save it, right? But having like having them printed in this format, I think, and maybe that's not the intent. I don't think it's very like pog, for lack of a better term.
It is hard to like adjust to.
Oh, did you finger on your nose? Or
No,
were
I
you
was just touching my face.
let me stop me if you want to talk about this, because I don't want to steal this from you if you do. I hate the wording
Yeah.
in this.
Oh my god.
I hate
still
almost all of
don't
it.
know what a lot of the differences are on these. Like,
Dude, some of them
why is there so many moves?
some of them
Just make
shouldn't
them
be
the
different.
same thing.
Oh God, bro! Like, I was yeah.
Then I have to like fucking figure out. I don't deal with complicated games very well, like to an extent. Like, I don't know, but then like I eventually get it.
Mhm.
I did not eventually get these.
Yeah.
I'm like, the only ones that I mostly understood were change the game and investigate and convince, because those are all pretty straightforward.
And some of them
And
genuinely,
montage.
it may like if there's people out there. There are people that disagree with this for sure. I don't understand why, for example, investigate and look through the mist are different roles. It does not make sense to me.
Just say you're looking for
Yeah.
misty things.
Right.
Well, I like, why
And
can't
one-
investigation be both? I
Right.
know if I know that the mist exists and I'm investigating a house, why am I just gonna fucking put the blinders on and not look for anything supernatural? That doesn't make
look through the
sense.
mist how you get clues.
No, investigate is how you get clues.
Both.
Both.
Oh my.
Well, then
I'm so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
so
like, I don't know why they couldn't have it be investigate logos, investigate mythos, right?
yeah, like that would
Call
be
it
more
the same
understandable.
thing,
And then you can like add your logos, add your mythos.
yeah, like, yeah, every single thing had to have a like crazy name.
Weird,
Hit
yeah.
with
Yeah.
all you've got, like,
End of
and-
the
Go
road.
toe to toe and hit it with all you got. I also don't understand why they aren't the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah, and there are like small nuances technically in like when you read through the rules. But I would agree overall, like it's all kind of the same thing, and I would have preferred, as especially as the person running the game, like the books when you read through them, they're really cool. The art is beautiful.
Mhm.
It's super cool and stylized. Even the like little text excerpts that they have where it's like a dame walked into my office type like things to get you in the mood of the game. Those are also like really well written. I enjoyed reading those. They helped me kind of like understand better. I feel like it would be very easy and beneficial to keep all of that the same, but then have the overall game mechanics be layman's speech, right? Like have it be investigate or convince or
sneak instead
Sneak.
of sneak around,
and fight.
fight,
And then part of like if you fight, like maybe call it fight back. Let's say there's a fight because you're offensive and then a fight back because
Or
you're
defend.
defense. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
yeah,
But like things that like initially make sense and that are not
Explain
a
it a little.
mouthful to
Mhm.
say, because in my opinion, the only frequent role that makes sense to be its own is change the game, because that is like a very unique type of role that you don't see in a lot of other games.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay for that one to be called change the game, right? But all of the other ones, it just made it confusing and it
feels
was
really forced, I guess.
yeah, and it made it feel clunky trying to read through the rules and figure out what was supposed to happen, because it wasn't just the player roles, right? Like it was also the difference between a tag and a status, because those are the same but different, and why can't they be the same thing? Why
Yeah.
can't all things be tags or all things be statuses? And then like it got very muddy for me.
Yeah.
And I think had the mechanics been more plain, the stylization of the game and the setting and like the cool concept would have spoken for itself. And I know that they were trying to get this to feel like a noir detective like movie, maybe TV show type idea, but it was just it made it clunky and really hard, in my opinion, to like get through, if that makes sense. So that was not my favorite.
I'm sorry, I want to hate on the player moves a little bit more.
Pop off.
Go for it.
It's just, it feels too handholdy. Like, it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's just because it's our group kind of thing. We just kind of are chill enough to know that, like, oh, you can do this and this would make sense if you do it this way. But now I have to decide, like, I have to put a label on every action that I do. And it's like, sometimes it doesn't seem to fit any of them, or it fits more than one. And then I'm like, okay, but like the mechanical benefits of this are more, but not really. Or there's like in that specific situation, it's not going to make a difference. And then it's just like, it feels like it wastes time trying to figure out which one of these moves am I doing, when I could just do what I said I was doing. And then there's like a roll, a simple roll for it. And it's just like, oh, that worked or that didn't work.
Yeah.
Damien, you also have a nose.
I am going to rescind the previous statement that I had.
He's
Okay.
rescinding. He's rescinding.
I think the way that this game plays, a lot of these make more sense now.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. It took up until the last 5,
minutes?
6 sessions
Mhm.
to finally like get it all to click, it kind of makes a little bit of sense to me. Do I think that they need to gamify everything, more specifically the clues? No, absolutely not. I think clues are kind of bad. They don't really feel good to use. I don't like. Did we ever really use a clue, or did we just kind of use it because it was a card sitting in front of us, and then we were like,
Yeah.
"We might as well."
I used them a couple times for like flashback type reasons. Like while I was back at that place, did I recognize any of these things?
Mhm.
Which I think is how it was supposed to be ran, and made a little bit of sense, right? I liked the reminder that I did have more information back at whatever place, but we could have just roleplayed that too.
We could have just roleplayed that. I think we don't have to like get rid of all of these.
Yeah,
I do think
no, I
that
liked it as a reminder.
the combat ones are a little bit clunky. I get what they're trying to do. So you have 3 of them: face danger, go toe to toe, and hit with all you've got. Face danger is a saving throw. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Go toe to toe, I guess, is more like fight defensively. I think that one can probably just fucking disappear. Hit with all you've got, that's your attack roll. By making an active attack.
Now, but I'm gonna disagree with you one more time. These player moves are in alphabetical order. They are not grouped by this
Yeah.
is combat, this is
That
investigate.
would be so helpful.
Like, I wish that they were like put into like okay,
like
this front page is alphabetical, the back page is not.
What?
So maybe
Well-
they aren't. Because the front page is CCFGHIST. But then the back page is all over the place. FEMMF.
Are they? Well, these aren't player moves. Right?
Oh, these.
I think they're all player moves, and they're even like missing a couple of them. They do break them
Yeah.
out into like core moves and then some other
Oh,
kind of
okay.
Yeah.
defined thing. I think that's a little bit dumb, if I'm being honest.
I would
I guess,
like to have all my combat stuff in one place,
Mhm.
all my investigate stuff in one place.
yeah, I guess if we were to like reorganize it,
Yeah.
it might be a little bit better. I guess what I'm getting at with these moves
Mhm.
is I kind of liked, like, for instance, change the game, because you have like create a story tag that's kind of open ended.
Mhm.
Then there's also like giving or reducing a status is less open ended, but it kind of makes sense in the context of this game where they don't have HP, they don't have any kind of like, oh, your character is poisoned.
Yeah.
No, it's like they have the poison status rank fucking 3 or something. And then like scaling up the effects and everything. To me, that makes it feel like Shadows of Asterin, where you can pick durations, where you can pick like number of targets, things like that.
yeah.
It kind
With
of
the
feels
magic.
a little bit like that. Convince, I mean, I guess it's like breaking out like the DCs for it, because it just has flat DCs for this entire game. It's 7 to 9 as you succeed with a consequence. 10 plus you succeed, and then if you ever get a move that's dynamite, which by the way, that whole thing is kind of a pain in the ass.
Mhm.
Of 12 plus, then you get like extra shit. But I understand. I understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It makes sense what they're trying to do in the context of the game.
And it is very cinematic, which I think is
Mhm.
what they were
Yeah.
going for.
For sure.
They definitely could have done something different with this. It's fine. I don't have the answer on how to correct this. It works for what we're trying to do, I guess. But you don't really need half of these. Like, some of the ones that I don't really like is the move finally some answers.
Yeah.
Because you find answers to your mystery, you choose 1, 2, or all 3. Like, why should me, the player,
Mhm.
be the one to say, like, I'm gonna finally find some answers there, God. You told me that you that fuck your story and everything that you're trying to do for my character. I finally found some answers.
I'm in the middle of the street, not near any clues, but I'm finding answers right now. right?
Yeah.
That could be a problem, or if they're just in a location where they've already expended, like they've already found everything there is to find at that location,
Mhm.
and then they're like, well, there's got to be more. Give me my flashback, not my flashback. Give me my finally some answers.
Oh,
Like,
I
I don't know.
I
Yeah.
think it's not like you're just walking around. To me it reads as like there's some sort of catalyst.
Yeah, and there
Okay.
is.
Like-
It's just
But it might be like a pivotal moment in like what's going on around us.
yeah,
And
but
it's just
I don't
like,
feel like it
bro.
needs a name for that, right? Like I get that, like
Feels like an end of the session thing.
yeah, and if you did get some answers for your mythos sick, I'm gonna present those to you as the GM, and that's gonna be good, right? Like I don't feel like that needs to be a specific move, right?
Mhm.
One of the moves that they break out, or two of the moves that they break out for like the MCs, is the soft moves and the hard moves. And a soft move is like, let me pull out my GM screen because I like should have them memorized by now, but I don't. A soft move is like, you can complicate things for them, or introduce a new threat into the scene, or give them or hit them with a fair warning, right? And then a hard move would be complicate things big time, or deny them something that they want, or make something horrible happen, right? And to me, it's like,
Ruin their
I'm the
life.
GM. I'm going to decide what I am going to do when I want to do it. I shouldn't have to be like, okay, now I'm going to make a soft move, right? Like, I'm just going to be like, hey,
Yeah.
and then things got complicated, and you guys are going to be like, oh no, right? Like, I don't need to like declare
Yeah.
this as like a move. And I feel like everything in this game has a specific move, and it makes it seem like I'm supposed to declare, or the players are supposed to declare every tiny thing that they want to do whenever they want to do it. And that just feels clunky to me. You have noses.
Yeah, I got mad noses. Fuck, where do I start? I guess I'm gonna start with this sheet.
Mhm.
I think the sheet mechanically reads like ass, and I think that's because go like for example the combat skills, go toe to toe. That phrase is both offensive and defensive. I don't know why you can't just get your like pick a few offensive options, pick a few defensive ones, and pick some that meet in the middle, and just like because they already do this thing repeatedly where they're like, based on your result, you pick one or two of these things.
And
Just
they like go toe to toe and hit with all you've got.
have two of the same
of the exact same
the
thing.
exact same thing. And so I'm like, you could just have like you could even just call it go toe to toe because that at least to me sounds both like it sounds like you're in an active engagement with
Mhm.
someone, and just have options in that, and that's your combat fucking role.
Mhm.
And then we already talked about some of the other ones, but also it's just like you brought up Shadows of Asterin. I feel like the magic system is weird just because it's different, but I feel like most, if not all, of the mechanics of Shadows of Asterin read really easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shadows of Asterin definitely did read a lot easier.
But like to Missy's point, I do want to point out that for the DM, a lot of the context and backstory and stuff was also given very thematically. Most of them were through like letters or like folklore or stuff like that. So it was still really pretty and beautiful to read. But when I needed to understand a mechanic, I could just read the mechanic and it said, this is what this does. And I was like, sick. And then we were able to move on. And it's like this, I feel like even now, like now that we're at the end and we have a better understanding of these mechanics, I just feel like it is thematic, sure, but it's like it is so unintuitive to read, and then it feels clunky to use because yeah, sometimes I just want to say, hey, I would like to this is my goal. I don't want to be like, I don't want to fucking drink Capri Suns after I change the game. I just want to try to change someone's mind. And if I roll well,
It just clicked.
oh juice. Yeah. And if I roll well, Misty should be able to discern, yeah, this or yeah, that. Or if I roll like in the middle, then she can do that. Like people have been saying, this feels like everything feels so specific that like I have to pick something in specific and pick one of these avenues to approach that are very specific, which I feel like is counterintuitive to TTRPGs in general. Because like in most like in most cases, books are guidelines, right? They like here are like these given scenarios most of the time, but we all talk about how communication and flexibility is a thing, and I feel like some aspects of these mechanics, not even just like the book, but mechanically hinders that kind of flow state, and that's annoying. Like it's just annoying.
Would be interested to see like with the not that I'm gonna actually do this, but I'm curious how many minutes we spent throughout this campaign trying to figure out which move we were supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
Cause it's just
Yeah.
And I feel like it's sorry, last thing. I feel like it is unnecessarily so. I feel like the setting's cool, the concepts are cool.
Mhm.
Like these mechanics just
That's
read like
so cool.
I feel like, and I don't want to sound overly harsh, these mechanics read like ass to me. And
They
like
do.
maybe that's
Yeah.
just my opinion. I think they read like it's awful reading these.
I wish they had a more like
I can't imagine being the DM and reading these and trying to read like the DM moves and shit. Like this is enough to make me go like just roll. Like if I was DMing this, I'd eat this, absorb it through like osmosis, and say, "Hey, just tell me what you want, dog." And then like I'm like for change the game specific, I would keep that square and just reference change the game. Especially like especially like things like finally some answers. That is dumb. That is just like reaching the end of a character arc, right? Like we don't need that on this. That doesn't make any sense to me. Sorry, I'm done. You have a nose.
Yeah, we talked about this off mic before, but one of the things that kind of like on top of what we talked about is that I feel like this is a very role heavy game. Like you have to
Roll for
everything. And I personally, as a player, and now I've discovered as a GM, I don't like that. I've known as a player that I prefer role playing to combat and role playing to like dice rolls and all that jazz. But now specifically, I know for a fact that like that is the case, especially as a GM, because there were so many times that you guys were creating really cool concepts and stories or were in a bind and I wanted you guys to just like thonk your way out of it, right? But in order for you to get a clue, I had to make you roll, and like if we were playing this not for the podcast and we were just homebrewing it, like honestly, I probably would have just played it more like Lady Blackbird or Shadows of Vestarin, where like roles don't really apply, right?
Mhm.
Like if it needs to happen, I would make you guys roll. But like if you're looking for a door, there's probably a door, and if there isn't, there's a reason why, right? Like I don't know. That was really difficult for me as a GM to be like, okay, roll for it, because 90% of the time I didn't feel like you guys should have had to, but game mechanic wise, like you were supposed to, and that's not my favorite. I really like when it's like truly up to the GM when you have to roll, and then you only roll when you have to roll, and that's not everybody's play style, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's what I've discovered through this, is that is my play style and that is my GM style, and I would love more freedom for that.
Was part of that because you were doing it from a module and the module like said you have to have them roll to get this?
No, that's just the game mechanics.
That's
like,
just how you get clues.
That's how you
fair.
guys get clues. You have to roll in order to generate juice, which is how you create statuses and tags for people. Like it just like you can't do anything without rolling, and I think that's kind of buns in my opinion. Damien.
This is going to start getting into the resources of this game, because it is kind of a resource management sim, because there's 4 different resources. But there's, in my opinion, the one redeemable aspect of this game is change the game.
Of the game mechanics.
Of the actions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really like the change the game action.
I do too. I think it's cool.
I will explain why in a moment. I feel like if you're ever going to run this game, I think you should take these as a fucking guideline for just about every single other thing. Because we've played this once, and you know that 7 to 9 is success with a consequence, and 10 plus is a better
Real
success.
Good. Yep.
So when looking at these actions, do not use them as gospel. Okay? If you roll a 7 to 9 to convince someone, but the person is really fucking amenable to whatever you're trying to say, either don't make them roll,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or don't really focus on a 7-9, give in a little but protect their own agenda. No, just role play it however. Investigate. On a 7-9, we are also supposed to have the investigation expose us to danger, or the clues get fuzzy or incomplete or part true or false, or whatever you're asking the questions can ask you one question as well, and you have to answer on the same terms.
Which
That's dumb.
that bullet right there.
What are you doing here? I'm here to investigate the death of just like what?
It's because it's just like that is such a like that feels like that is something that would be cool narratively if it came up naturally.
Yes.
Yes.
Like if you're following a lead and you find this guy with all the answers and he's like, "Hey, I have some fucking questions." He's like, "Okay, cool. I've been interested in your like Holiday, right? If he was like, "Oh, I've been interested in your group too," I'll tell you what. For every question you ask me, I get to ask you a question. That makes
Mhm.
sense. But
Mhm.
when the DM suddenly has to spring that to life because you got an 8, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off. Go.
No, it's okay. Clues. No. Get rid of clues. I think that clues don't really make a whole lot of sense if you really want someone to think back at a scene. Have them have a flashback.
Yep.
And then that flashback indicates in the game rules that you're supposed to make a move in the wherever the hell you were before. Have them investigate again. Call that fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. Clues do not. They're just not
Or
necessary.
even like you don't even have to do a flashback necessarily. Like you can literally, like, if it makes sense, for sure, do it. But like if you were at the scene and it was recent and Joseph says, "Hey, do I remember if the police officer was wearing a red uniform or a blue uniform?" He was wearing a blue uniform. Sick. Like that doesn't need to be a whole clue, right? Like that can just be like a quick, "Oh, I hadn't really thought about that. Do I remember it?" And then like you probably do. And if you have a character trait that says you don't, then you probably don't, right? Like I just don't feel like that needs to be a whole clue thing.
Yep.
Yeah. If you want to use these as ideas, sure, pop off, do your thing.
For sure.
But don't take them as gospel.
Yeah, like rules as written is rough with this game.
Yeah.
They just are.
The only two that I think you should follow, like the rules as written when playing this game. I know that I'm going to get some backlash from this.
No, you.
It's change the game, obviously.
Yeah.
And go toe to toe / hit with all you've got. It's how the game works is with these fucking statuses. So you kind of have to follow what they say here.
Well, and I think that's fine. Like to be honest, I like the statuses.
Yeah, I think
that
that's a
made
unique HP
GMing
mechanic.
Yes.
Yeah.
really nice. To be honest, like I don't have to sit here and calculate people's HP. That was nice. However, they should be a combined move.
Yeah.
And then if they were a combined move, then I would be like, yeah, absolutely, go toe to toe / hit with all you got. That makes sense because I get to choose whether or not I defend myself. I get to choose whether or not I wreak havoc on this dude, or if I just kind of hurt him, but I also defend myself. Like you got options, and I love options. I don't like it as written though, but I would agree with you. Like change the game for sure. Just get rid of juice. I don't understand.
I
Capri Suns.
disagree on that one.
Um,
I'll get to that point though.
I maybe don't get rid of juice, but
I
change
think-
the
Rename it.
name.
I think blow the fuck up out of juice
Just call it-
personally, but I'll let Damien cook.
I just don't like it just doesn't, to me, the terminology does not make sense. I understand what juice is, and that I think is relevant, but juice to me does not make sense in the greater context of the game.
She doesn't
It's like the
Capri Sun.
one weird name that they chose to use that doesn't fit with the rest of the theme, in my opinion. And I'm like, I don't.
It must be a reference that I just don't get. Like I feel like because everything else is very thematic, right? I'm just like, surely I'm just missing something when it comes to juice, like the name juice.
Maybe, but I don't know. Anyway,
Do you want to go or you want me to?
I want you to
finish
defend juice really quick. If that's what you're about to do. If that's not what you're
Well,
about to do.
it's just to finish up with go toe to toe versus hit with all you got. What I would recommend doing is have your players just roll the general combat roll, and then because both go toe to toe and hit with all you've got have options. They are almost the exact same. It's just that some of the options are different. Just have them roll, and then you pick on either one of these which option
two
that
or
you want to
three,
do.
Yeah.
Defending juice. We could call it juice. We could call it power points. We could call it fucking ligma points.
Power points would make more sense because you're
PP,
using
baby.
powers.
Yeah, but you're juicing up your power. I don't
We
fucking
would just
know,
call
man.
it points.
Recharging your powers.
Yeah.
Charge.
But change the
Yeah.
game. I really, really like
Mhm.
because you add your power tags. If you're trying to use your abilities, you're going to be using power tags. It would match with the whole improvement of adding more like power tags to your themes and all of that kind of stuff. But it gives cool benefits that you can flavor however the hell you want. I made a fucking Marauders map
Mm-hmm.
using Change the Game, and I think that was really fucking cool.
Mhm.
We had Olivia, who like gave a hidden effect to a guy who believed that like fucking bugs and shit were gonna start crawling around. Like that's cool. I think it makes a lot of sense to mechanically define that you need to put juice into some of these different options. That way, like the roll actually means something when you roll this. You can't treat this the same necessarily as like any of these other ones where it's like if you get a 7 to 9, you get one effect, or you get 10 plus, you get 2 effects. But this one, if I pump in, if I were Alex, for instance, and on that final fucking guy, I used Change the Game rather than go toe to toe, I used 6 fucking power tags in there. That should mechanically turn into something. And with Change the Game, it would.
Mhm.
It would turn into 6 juice, power points, Sugma points. And you can just apply them however you want. You can make 6 different fucking story tags if you want. That all can narratively make sense. And then you can use later on in the investigation.
Mhm.
You could give a status. You could give 6 tier 1 statuses that then would add up to tier 6, which then also means why in the fuck do you have the combat die, combat actions in themselves? But whatever, scale up the effect. I think that's cool. Prolonging the effect, hiding the effect. I mean, when you get fucking dynamite and Change the Game, you get
It would only
permanent
be
effects.
a tier 3 status. 6 of them.
Okay. So,
I'm sorry. I'm just.
no,
Oh,
It
right,
that's,
so
still
it's
would be
2 for
Pog,
yeah.
but it wouldn't be the same as a tier 6 status.
it's still though, like it's pretty well. It says 1 tier per point of juice
Right,
for
but
give or reduce
your
a status.
your tiers go up in increments.
Oh.
So it goes 1, 2, 2.1, 3, 3.1. 3.2.
Oh,
So it's
Like
like
that's
4.
wild.
Yeah.
kind of
okay.
like how action points.
That
work.
makes a lot of sense though, because you don't
Mhm.
want to just like
action points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just want a name change. I personally like the idea of juice.
and I think it's open ended enough that you can just use it for your powers.
And it's also not tying the GM's hands,
Yeah.
right? Like, I am not beholden to like give you all of the narrative lines because you did a Change the Game roll, right? Whereas some of these other ones, I'm like, okay, I guess you're GMing now, right? Like, I don't know. You have noses.
I just
Unless
don't-
Damien, you still have stuff.
Nope, that's it. Pop off.
I just don't understand why juice is a resource. Most of these seem pretty like you make the roll and you decide right now what you're gonna do with the roll. So why can't it just be roll plus power for each power?
Oh
Take
yeah.
one of these. Why do I? Why
do you have to
is
add
it a
juice?
resource? Why don't I just look at this and I go, I want to create a story tag, I want to prolong the effect, and I want to scale up the effect.
You
But-
can.
Yeah.
That is a
So
good
why
point.
is juice a resource?
Juice doesn't even need to be a thing.
It even specifies in the book that it doesn't last.
Yeah.
So like, why is it why doesn't it just say juice
No,
two?
that's a good
Yeah.
point. It could essentially be written like go toe to
Li-
toe,
literally-
where it's like
pick these.
You got these.
You got options. Pick them.
There's also a choose your own adventure option as long as your MC is cool with it.
I do
Um,
agree that like unlike go toe to toe, where like there is a hard cap of like you get to pick 2, unless I think it's dynamite, then you might end up being able to pick more. I do like that like if you roll really well, you can pick more than 2.
Mhm.
I still don't think you need a resource to do that. I think you can just specify that by saying pick power number of options.
I suppose that is fair. Thematically, I think it feels better. Let me back up here. So in the combat actions, right? 7 to 9, you get 1. 10 plus, you get 2. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But that one, you can use 0 power tags. You can use 1,000 power tags. You are capped in at 1 or 2. Or maybe dynamite, you'd get 3 or something. With change the game, though, because each of your power tags, like for change the game, would be for, in my brain, your mythos, right? So if I am pumping more tags into the Library of Alexandria or into Excalibur, I should get some kind of benefit, because now that I've pumped more tags into this, I should have more shit happen. Which is why I kind of like it being a resource, like you needing to write it down on a card, I don't think is necessary in any way, shape, or form. But just as a like really quick, like,
Yeah.
sweet, I passed this, I got fucking 4 power tags with this, so I get to pick 4 of these options.
But I think you can
That's
just
fine.
say, yeah, and I agree. I think change the game is a cool role because of that. I agree with you completely. I just don't understand why the word juice is used at all, let alone introduced as a resource. Because I think you can just explain it like you just did. Hey, I picked 4 power tags, I succeeded. Since I used 4 power tags, I get to pick 4 options. And that you can write that down in a way like that isn't exactly how I said it, that is still easy to understand without mentioning the animals, right? Like we don't have to talk about juice to fucking get that point across.
Isn't that yogurt?
Yeah. Hey, if you're me,
You drink it like juice.
it's juice. You know what I'm saying?
That's why.
But no ads. But I just think it's dumb, dude. And I just think it's another.
That is fair. It could very easily be like, and you know, you get
power options
equal to your fucking power or whatever.
I do think I
they
do
just-
want to make it clear because I'm kind of shitting on it a lot. I do think, like everyone said, I think change the game is the poggest role that is unique to this game. I think that is like the best example of like kind of what this game stands on. My second finger on my nose was, it's crazy to me. Like if I just looked at the character sheet, I would think it really lends itself to flexible, fluid, build your own adventure type deal.
Yes.
Because the characters seem really like, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm bad at, this is my day job, this is my mythos, right? Like it sounds very like I'm gonna go out into the world and do great things or evil things if that's my vibe. But then you read these mechanics and it's almost like a jail cell. Like the mechanics almost counter the characters, I feel like.
I agree.
And that's buns.
And that's
me.
probably why we like change the game so much, is because it isn't jailed.
Yeah, it's the only one that
Yeah.
lends itself to this is in my
Being
opinion.
creative. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it as far as like my personal gripes. I think it's just a little, to round it all out, to be honest, unless anybody has something more that they wanted to bring up.
I've got 3 things.
Okay.
So I made a
Right.
list.
No, you're okay.
I know every single time we do one of these epilogues, I end up fucking
No, go
talking
for it.
everyone's
Pop
ear
off.
off.
That's the
it's
point.
okay.
We're here to yap.
So we already talked about actions. We've already talked about confusing rules. I do want to preface, post this. I do want to mention that it's probably because this game just doesn't run like any of the other games that we've played. It feels weird. It's hard to get used to.
That's part of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Sure.
That being said, I think
But
we're
that's kind of our thing, is trying new games, and we've tried a lot of new games.
And this one's been the hardest to learn.
Yeah.
Like hands
Like-
down.
I just wanted to throw that one out there.
Yeah.
Just
One
in
could make
case-
that point. Yeah.
Yep.
Analysis paralysis. This game is so fucking open-ended, and I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love that so much. But goddamn, if you get into this game, just know that one, if not all, of your players will probably have analysis paralysis in character creation.
Yeah.
Because, you all were there. I initially was trying to do Rumpelstiltskin, and then I fucking bugged out, and then I tried to do the Enclave thing because that sounded really fucking cool too. And then I got so, like, fixated on, like, well, I can't really do the Library of Alexandria because, like, my guy would just be sitting in the library reading books all goddamn day and never would come out. He would be a goddamn recluse.
Yeah.
But just know that you might need to help out players with figuring out what to do for their characters, because if everything's an option, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I changed my mind so many times. I don't even remember what my options were.
Feudal Japan was one of them.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I am all of
That's sick.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think in the future, if I were to redo this to help with that, what I would probably do is like give a broader category for people to work within. So for example, Greek mythos, right? And then everybody needs to choose a Greek myth that they want to associate themselves with. Or we're only going to do relics. So find a cool relic you want to vibe with. I'm not saying you have to do that, because again, you also want to make sure your players are on board with that. But I think that would help rein in some of the analysis paralysis, because it really is rough out there. Like, I was grateful I didn't have to create a character because I was like, that's too much for me. That's so many cool options, and I want all of them. And you can't have all of them.
I don't know if I'd recommend a concept or a mental illness as a mythos.
Yeah, that can be tough to.
It was tough to figure out. A lot of the tags don't really make sense because I didn't really understand how the tags were being used. I would if I remade this character, it'd be a lot different. So I had to really kind of stretch to make some of these make sense. But please be a person or thing.
That's funny because, dude, I saw Excalibur. I was like, that shit looks cool. It's one of the pre-made characters. I made it a little different. I made it kind of inverted from the pre-generated character. I was like, weapon bracelet. That shit sounds sick. I'll roll with that. Shit, lucky me, I guess. I did not have a hard time making a character.
Yeah, and normally I go for more simple characters. I'm just I have sword. I hit with sword. And that's usually what I go for. And then I was like, what if I made this the most ambiguous character? It's just my character is a concept.
I would like to point out though that even though that was difficult, it is doable.
It is.
So that's kind of cool. But
one other thing to bring up in that regard is they have crew examples conspiracy theorists or paranormal investigators or a crime syndicate. And I think if we had if we maybe started with something like that, it might have been a little bit easier for figuring out what to do. I really like what we did with it.
Me too.
But then again, we're cracked and we're just built different.
A little different.
I should have been Winnie the Pooh.
I do.
Dude, that would have been great.
That would have been so cute.
That would have been crazy, bro.
I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
Turn around, touch
Friendship would have been a power.
In the mood
Demonetized.
for food.
Oh, not demonetized.
Nope.
It's past its copyright.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
Yeah.
Monetized, baby.
Public domain. At least the books.
The books are.
Give us
maybe
your
not
money.
the songs.
Oh, demonetized. I was right.
It's okay. Listen. That's my favorite song. It is me.
Stevie did bring up though that some of the tags just don't get used, and you kind of have to realize what this game is before making your tags, because there were quite a few of them that I just never used, and that is fine. I just think that I would have worded mine a little bit differently, because I had a couple of them that touched on the exact same thing. And that's not really the best, I don't think, because I had university access and teaching and or something to that effect, teaching and efficient planning, and those are a little bit too close together, I feel like. So maybe having something a little bit more diverse might have been nice.
Yeah, I think that is one of the traps that you fall into with this game. Is it's hard to build a character without knowing the rules, and it's hard to know the rules without having a character.
Mhm.
And yeah,
I think a good idea would be to do one case and then work with your GM or MC, and maybe hopefully they'll be open to like changing the tags if you're like, okay, I didn't know it plays like this. Because again, the wording's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe like regroup and say, hey, can I change these tags in this way? Because I think it'll make more sense with what I'm trying to do with my character. And as long as it's not too like metagamey, obviously, like just I think that if you have a good GM, or if you are the GM, try to be open to that kind of situation maybe, because this really is a game that like doesn't make a lot of sense until you play it for a little bit.
I would agree.
Every GM needs to adopt the lemon law for any game whatsoever.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I forgot that's what it was called.
yeah, it's season session zeros.
Your nose, sir.
I think the unused tags kind of depends. Because for me, for Alex, not using his combat most of the time, for me, was like a narrative choice, right?
Mhm.
Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool, right? Because like, yeah, to me it's just like, because like most of the vast majority of my tags are combat oriented,
Mhm.
so they didn't come up 95% of the time, and I was fine with that, right? But that is also like a character choice that I made. I also understand it's very easy to like pick tags that sound cool, and then like you said, like kind of lemon law, you might not realize right away that like how much or little they'll come up.
Mhm.
Also to that point, I do want to say we played 2 out of 9 cases, I think.
10.
2 out of 10 cases. So like it is possible that some tags would have come up more later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because this is a module, right? Like I think if you're homebrewing, you kind of have the freedom to see the characters that your players make, and then you have the freedom to be like, oh, I can like make
Add
this
this
scenario
in.
that will like, like Professor Alexander Cross, well, his logos will really shine here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or
I'll
like
tailor this bad guy to make sure that he needs to get beat up, and that's the only way he can get defeated.
yeah, right? You can play to your player's strengths. It is more difficult to do that in a module.
Mhm.
And like as much as I've like been beating the shit out of this game mechanically, it does do that mechanically, right? Like it's like up to your table how long it would take, but you can fade your shit and
Mhm.
like or upgrade your shit.
Mhm.
When you
There's
when
a-
you
there-
improve,
yeah.
I think you
Yeah,
can change them
you
out.
can change your tag, so you could
Yeah,
potentially relatively. Oh, is that with attention?
It's called attention. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was attention or fade that lets you change tags, but you can mechanically also change tags. So like
It's not like you're stuck with those forever
so it's like
if
Yeah.
your GM isn't
Yeah,
I
attention
agree.
amenable to
allows
that.
you to add things to it, and then fade and crack would get rid of it entirely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree that like it is hard to feel the game out before you play for a bit. So I kind of like Steve's recommendations of like make your like almost like like make some characters, maybe just use the pre-generated characters, do a like a either like the first case of this or like a mini case, see how it plays, and then maybe that will like give you a more informed decision when you make your actual characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
agree. And then use the lemon law.
Yeah,
I
then use the
definitely
lemon
agree
law.
that making it, unless you're like, wow, I love this idea. Pre-gen characters are there. Use them.
They do like
Yeah.
it's easy to make a one shot and just play the game out, right? You don't even necessarily have to have a coherent case to follow. You can just do some of an investigation, just enough to really fill out the system, right?
Yeah. Real quick, I don't think we've talked about it on mic before. The lemon law. Do you want to explain
Yes.
kind of what that is? Because I'm sure people already know, but for those who don't, because I didn't until like a couple months ago, I feel like that's probably good to explain.
Sure. So the lemon law, it's kind of more of a philosophy than like a law, hard, fast rule. But the idea is that you don't know how something is going to play, or like how an ability or a story tag or whatever is going to play until you play it. And if it doesn't feel good, you should be able to talk with your GM and discuss maybe like adjusting it so that then it feels a little bit better, a little bit more fun to play. Thus, the lemon law. So this idea is that your character levels up. You're like, hey, this feat sounds really cool. I pick this feat. In the next couple, like 1 to like 3 sessions, if your player is like, wow, I really don't like this, have them switch out the feat for free, no issues, whatever. I guarantee it's not going to destroy your story. If you think that your players are abusing it, then I mean that's a different conversation to have with them. But the idea is then that you can like just be more forgiving about allowing your players to adjust things, even though it's not the quote unquote allotted time. And even for something like Pathfinder, don't make them spend all the money to retrain and pick a new feat, because that's mechanically inhibiting and also just a feels bad kind of a moment. Just be okay with like finding a feat, finding out that it's a lemon, switch it out.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's really good for people to adhere to when you can. And I feel like most scenarios lend themselves to being able to do that. So, okay, I think you said you had one more thing, and
One
then
more.
we can move on to positives.
Yes, sorry. How the fuck are we supposed to do a case per session? I think you just looked it up.
Yeah, I looked it up, and in this module, it says, depending on your group's style of play and the specifics of the case, each case could take between 1 and 4 sessions to complete. If you've listened to this, you know that we completed 2 cases in the span of
20 episodes.
20 episodes, which means 10.
We're like
if we're being
double
generous, if we're pretending like we don't do these in 2-hour chunks, that would be 10 sessions. So 5
like regular 4-hour sessions.
4-hour sessions, which I
case.
guess is only a little bit long compared to what they're saying.
Did they define session length in there though?
No, not at least not in this book.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look it
Okay.
up in their other books. There's too many books.
Yeah, that's fair.
But even then, I still feel like, to be honest, like the second case, I feel like probably could have been another 1 or 2 sessions. If things had gone any way different than they had. Like if any of the things I actually planned happened, it would
when
probably
you were
have
telling
been.
us about them, I was like, we did not have time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like banter aside, like we are not the most
Focus.
like, but we're also not the least focused group that I've ever like played with. I've definitely played with groups that everyone's got to go get snacks in the middle of things, and someone's ordering food from one place, someone else is ordering from another place, and like that's happening during play.
Oh.
This could be even slower. Like we do yap.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
also schedule time to play, and we are consistent.
And we're consistent.
Yeah.
Like,
Which I guess
Yeah.
doesn't change like the number of sessions. But
Well,
like,
no, I feel like it would, right? Because then you've got to remember everything that happened the previous session. You got to remember the rules, because you definitely forgot about them in the month that it took for you to get your group
Reschedule.
together again.
And
And
if you're like us, you didn't level up in that month.
Oh yeah, so you got to spend the first
So you gotta
hour
figure out how to
leveling
level
up.
up.
So, yeah.
I do think that that's not necessarily a complaint. That is just something to be aware of.
Yes,
with
yeah.
this game.
Yes. Don't
Yeah.
expect to solve this in an hour.
Also, like, yeah, I agree. I was just gonna harp on it more. I agree
Yeah.
because like I think if we like this case, it would not have been as cool as tense as like intriguing if we did it in 2 sessions. Like what?
Mhm.
It would have been like, oh shit, there's a fairgrounds. Pauline's missing. Let's go investigate the fairgrounds. What? Goldie's gonna blow up. Let's save her. What? This guy's in a wheelchair. I'll kill him. Let's go home. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
I can't imagine trying to do all of that. Like, and I thought this case was cool from start to finish, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine trying to squeeze all the things that would not fit if we squeezed it into 2 sessions is crazy to me, or even 4 sessions, right? Like,
Yeah, because had we squeezed this into 4 sessions, you guys would have essentially ended when you got to the fairgrounds.
like time
Damn.
wise,
Yeah.
exactly, right?
Damn.
Like you wouldn't have even known about the whole other half of the case,
Mhm.
because up until you found Dr. Drake, you were not sure if it was Holiday or if it was like just some unfortunate event with David or what. Like, you thought there was foul play going on, but like you didn't know.
And if we had gotten in there sooner, like we would have missed out like just on cool roleplay moments or like just bullshitting with other characters.
Well, to be honest, if you guys had gotten to the fairground before you did, you probably would have died. Like, you had zero extra information to like keep you safe. You would have seen the automatons and for the first time at the fairground, and then you would have been like, my fiance, and then you'd be dead. Like, there's just like, yeah. So anyway, point being, don't go based off of what the book says. Because I read that. I said, 1 to 4. Okay. So we'll probably be about 2 to 3-ish.
Yeah, split the difference.
Because we talk a lot, right? I was like 2 to 3-ish. So I thought we were going to get through this entire case in like 20 to 25, or not case, but this entire story arc in like 20 to 25 sessions.
Sorry, guys.
That did not happen. We didn't even get through part 1 of 3, right? So like,
Yeah.
that's kind of the vibe. Maybe your team, that's weird. Maybe your group plays different than we do, and maybe they'll go quicker through it. Most of you probably don't have a time crunch where you have to get something done within 20-ish sessions. But just keep that in mind, because it's not, in my opinion, not as quick as a 1 session.
Yeah, I cannot
thing.
imagine doing these in 1 session.
When a board game is like 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes, and then 4 hours later,
Yeah, that's this.
you're like, how am I supposed to get rid of all these cities? We have 2 cities and then they're invading the jungle and the mountains.
the building.
We're out of Blight.
Spirit Island's a
They're-
great game.
Yeah, we're talking about Spirit Island.
They're
It's really
about to
fun.
ravage on the coastal land.
Yeah. Okay, do we want to get into things we like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The setting. Oh my god.
The setting's
It's so
amazing.
cool.
The setting is sick.
cool.
Like 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5 out
It's
of 10.
pretty
One
fucking
of the
sick.
best settings I have ever heard of.
I'm going to say
/ plated.
9.8 out of 10.
It's pretty up there. Like the whole.
I can't imagine a better setting,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest. It's sick.
Can we? When we say setting, someone qualify setting right now.
I am separating mechanics entirely
From,
and
like,
saying
The game concept.
the
Yes.
game concept,
Okay.
It's
the
so cool.
you are superheroes,
Yes.
the city
But not
itself,
superheroes.
but not
I agree.
superheroes. Yeah.
I know nothing's a perfect 10, right?
Yeah.
But I struggle to find anything to criticize about the game
Right.
concept.
It's so
It's
cool.
so fucking sick.
Yeah.
And it's so, you can
And
make it whatever. You can make whatever you want.
And it's
Yeah.
pretty balanced. Like character creation is pretty fucking balanced.
Mhm.
Like,
You know what's
I
cool?
could
We
be
could have set
dominoes.
this. I know I keep saying ancient Greece. We could have set this in a city in ancient Greece, and it would still work.
mhm.
It's an investigation game, and you're all Grecians. Like, would it be a little bit of a
We wouldn't have cell phones.
interesting take? For sure. But like, that's cool to me.
Yeah.
That like, okay, now we're basing all of our myths from this point on to this. Like, that's cool. You can do it in a modern setting. You can do it in the 1950s. So
I
sick.
really
You
like
could do it in the future with flying cars.
You sure
Mhm.
can.
You totally could. That'd be really cool.
That would
be a
Mhm.
Rube Goldberg machine.
you could be a Rube Goldberg.
I'm sorry, I just thought that would be cool because like you could just set a chain of events.
Oh yeah.
Emotion.
Oh, there was
That
a
would be
show
really
called The Alphas, where that was one of the things. Is like it was like basically people had superpowers, but
Mhm.
they it was all based off of like enhanced normal attributes.
Yep.
So it was something like I release pheromones that make people really fucking mad around me.
Cool.
And like that's their thing, or like an enhanced fight or
I do
flight
that naturally.
reflex where you are like super fucking strong for a little bit,
Hmm.
or you have like in that case like you're just able to like see the domino effect of some of your actions. So like this guy was riding in the back of a fucking cop car and all like chained up, and he had a coin in his hand, and he just rolled the coin, and Rube Goldberg machined it to the point where the fucking car just like flipped, and he just walked out of there.
That's wild.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing I love about this setting, especially the modern setting, is it feels like a TV show, right? It feels like Heroes or Supernatural or Smallville,
Or
all these
Percy Jackson. Even though it's not a
Yeah,
TV
that's
show,
my
but
shit.
right? All of these like TV shows that I grew up with, and like that's just kind of what you want to do,
It's
right?
cool,
You want to
man.
be a superhero, myth. You want to be this overpowered person in your normal life,
Mhm.
and that's one thing that RPGs are good at in general, is giving you that power fantasy, right? I am now, have all of these powers, and I can do good and fight crime and find creepy automatons that look like my fiance, right? Like,
The
it
dream
is a
come true.
great setting. Yes,
It's sick.
Stevie.
Sorry.
Dusty.
I think that with this module
Mhm.
and I'm just the fucking character concepts.
They're so cool.
Goldie?
Yeah.
Goldie's
bro.
sick.
Hephaestus?
She's so cool. There's the overarching villain is so cool, and I'm so sad that you don't get to know.
Oh,
We
man.
will,
The end.
please.
Yeah.
But like the concept, like whoever helps create these, because I know Amit, what's his last name?
It's on the
Moshi. Amit Moshi, I think is his name. Amit Moshe.
Mhm.
Yeah, Moshi or Moshe, I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
He's got such a cool concept going. I love the characters he comes up with. There's like so many cool ones. They just came out with their latest Kickstarter stuff, and I won't get the physical copies of it until a little bit later in the year. But the stuff, like, I was so sad that I couldn't incorporate those into this game, because they're like the character concepts, the locations, they're just so cool and so imaginative and so fresh. Like with Goldie, right? Like, it's like, oh, Goldilocks, that sounds kind of lame. And then you're like, oh, she can make anything too hot or too cold. That's sick. Like,
That's fucking cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
and I'm in love with the storytelling and the ideas that come from this creator and this series. Like, they are so
Great
cool.
job.
And honestly, if you're playing a different game and you want to have like a cool concept for somebody, I would just
Yoink the shit out of this,
For
bro.
sure.
Like, it's so
even if
cool.
you're playing like Shadows of Starin,
Yeah.
like, there's ways that you could come up with a cool, because they have such good takes on things.
Mhm.
You could look
They're
at
so
a Goldie
creative
type
about it.
character and be like, okay, how do I now put this into Shadows?
Mhm.
And then like figure it out. And yeah, it's going to be very different mechanically, but like, they're just such cool characters.
They're so
like,
cool.
and I'm devastated that you guys don't get to like meet everybody, because they're so cool. And I feel like that about a lot of the games that we play, but I like extra super feel that way about these guys, because they're just so imaginative.
Mhm.
And like every time I'm like preparing for a session, I'm like, oh, if I ever get to be a player, this is who I want to be. And then like the next page, I'm like, no, this is who I want to be. Right? Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's super unique, to be honest. Like, I don't feel like there's quite as much inherent creativity with any of the other games that I've seen.
I
Not that
agree.
other games aren't creative, but like this just feels
It really is like, it's almost like a new flavor of ice cream. Right? Like, it's
Yes.
crazy. It's so unique.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it also just promotes that kind of creativity too
Does.
for all the
Mhm. Yep.
players.
Mhm.
Like, for instance, the best move in the entire fucking game, change the game. Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want there, and it's just goddamn incredible. Like, I could absolutely see OP using Change the Game to just like fucking call out into the void, and then just a bunch of dead people show up, just being like, "So, dude, let me help you out," or something.
Yep.
Or just like you know, fucking Pied Pipering some goddamn animals and have them climb up the tower and then attack on the inside,
Yeah.
or like some crazy shit like that. Or fucking, and this same game allows you to do something like that, and then also adds in the subtlety of like Olivia's ability of like just like psychically projecting some like mental images into someone, to that then will also allow for fucking Excalibur to stab in with a glaive and then cut off with a fucking scythe a guy's arm, and it's just so cool. And
yeah,
it's
the creativity potential is just amazing.
Mhm.
yeah,
throughout
it's
the-
literally anything that you can think of, you can do it
Mhm.
It makes me so happy.
It's sick. It's genuinely
with the change of game.
yeah. It's genuinely, I think, the most like creativity inducing game we've played. Like I think
I agree.
yeah.
I feel like playing this game has given me a new and a better perspective for future games when it comes to character creation,
Yeah.
Same.
in like trying to create something new and based off of like this whole game is centered around the idea of stealing concepts from stuff,
Yeah.
right? And like
you know
for
me,
the longest
I am all
time-
about stealing things.
Oh, for sure.
Always steal shit.
For
Steal
sure.
the setting.
But like that is something that a lot of people kind of like look down on, where it's like, oh, your character idea is an original. You took that from Alice in Wonderland. That's dumb. But like
Oh, that
this
would've been
game is
So,
like,
so
Sick.
oh dude, the
Oh my-
Jabberwock.
you don't
God.
understand. You don't understand. Like, but you can like this game is unapologetic about it. It's like, no, steal. Do it.
Mhm.
And I think that is really cool. And I can't wait to play our next games and like feel that freedom and that creativity because we played this game. And I
Yes.
feel like that in and of itself is a reason to play this game. Even
Yeah.
with the buns mechanics. Like to be able to feel that amount of creativity. And I didn't even get to play as a player, right? Like that's so sick to me, and I can't wait to see how that bleeds into the like ways we play future games.
It's crazy to say this because I just shat on this game for so long, but I feel like genuinely I am changed for the better. As dramatic as that sounds, for having
Yeah.
played this game, like it's genuinely like inspiring. Like you feel like a kid again when you're making a character. You're like, oh, what were some of my favorite stories of a kid?
You're
Like,
not so focused on stats.
well, me, I was like, yeah, right. You're like, and you can draw from anything. You can draw from some of your fears, some of your insecurities. So, like for me, I was like, I've always grown up with the idea of like, oh, it would be so cool to be a knight, right? So like when I saw the Excalibur regenerated character like that really called to me, right? And it's like cool to have the freedom to genuinely be like, and we all like, you know, we're all making fantasy characters most of the times in these TTRPGs, but like to be encouraged to call on like different like fantasies or myths that already exist. You kind of like you have this childlike wonder where you're like, you're reading all these different mythos about all these different things, and you like just fucking pick whatever one you want to run with, and it's really cool.
And when you find out other people's myths, like it feels awesome. Like
Yeah.
when you guys got Goldie, when I got the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Yeah,
like,
that was
it
wild.
feels
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's a sick extra thing that you can be like, that's fucking yeah, dude, it's so cool.
That's Jack Skellington. Also would be
David.
another fucking amazing guy to have as a myth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the
that would be
skeleton
fun.
key would be
Yeah.
cool. There's just so many
There's
good options.
So many cool things. So yeah, like I can't love on the setting enough.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
that it's so cool. The concept, the setting, this module, so fun. So fun.
Yeah, this is all pre-gen, and it felt
It did not
It-
feel pre-gen. I did not feel railroaded.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's good.
She said, "Shit for real." She has a conductor hat on.
No, I can't tell you how many sessions we would get done with, and we'd start driving home, and I'd be like, "Did that feel too railroady?" And Joseph would be like,
What do you
"Nah,"
mean?
and I'm like, "Okay, that's good."
No, genuinely,
Are you
I
sure?
never felt railroaded at all.
There are times when like I feel like it may I don't know. Because, like, for example, following my brother into the funhouse, it felt like that was the only kind of railroady thing. But, like, you also left it up to me to, like, not fucking follow him.
Mm-hmm.
So I very well could have just been like, I'm gonna absolutely not follow that imposter.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, I don't want to like drag things along. Like you can kind of take some cues sometimes as a player.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Don't drag things out for no reason because you want to like not. And I like it just doesn't make sense to drag things out if you know that's what's gonna happen if you don't make that decision because it's like this is your GM.
Mm-hmm.
This is a message from your GM. Please get back on track a little bit.
And I think, and this can probably be its own conversation some other time, but I think there's a very interesting and probably a very long and like passionate conversation to be had about what is railroading versus what is following story beats, right? Because there is a middle ground, right?
I would see it more as that, like she's guiding us.
And like, I guess I don't know, right? But like, there's a world where you don't go, like you said, and like that part just doesn't happen, and like we get to the same resolution, right? So it's like Schrodinger's railroad, right? Where you're like, is it railroady? Like if we didn't have, if you didn't go, would you be forced into that bar anyway, or would we just never see it? Right?
Railroading
like, we can't
would
prove
be
it.
like if you had a bunch of carnies chase us in those specific directions, kind of thing.
Yeah, or like, and even I don't know, man. Like I don't know. Like I guess railroady is like everyone has their own internal railroad of what railroading means to them. But I'm like, if we pulled up, we all got knocked out, and we all woke up in our trap rooms. That to me would have felt pretty railroady. Right?
Yeah.
But like, tomato, someone's got a nose.
Also, this adventure path, it's so cool because I'm literally staring right now at our board with all of these different clues on there, and like it was genuinely fun to sit here staring at it and just thinking like, well, how do these things all connect? Because now I know that there's a line between the business card for Mending the Broken that we have up there connected to Hypnosil. That's also going to be connected to like Pauline's plans at the fairground, and like having to figure all of that out because like we're solving individual cases, yet it's all part of some greater story. It's so fucking
It's
cool.
so cool, you guys. I'm so sad. But I'm
we
also
will play it.
relieved.
We will play this. Like,
I need
on
a
mic
minute.
or not, I need to finish this.
Yeah, it's just nice to like have our first investigation game go this well. I mean, one,
we're
we're
kind
kind
of. Oh, okay.
Oh.
I was say we're kind of dumb at investigation.
Oh
games.
yeah, I mean,
I think
But
we
aren't
think
we all?
too hard about
We overthink
investigation
things.
games.
So many times we wasted like a half hour.
Not me.
I think you were involved 2 times.
I mean,
But,
if
like, who's
counting?
Hephaestus can make a camera that can like peer through the mist, then obviously that wasn't a Tesla coil there. That was a mist blocking device, obviously. But
No, we would really get zeroed in on the absolute wrong things.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's more of an us problem.
I think it's an everyone will.
Yeah, I
do
was
that.
gonna say, I don't know, man. It's like
Okay,
it's like that.
but like I think for us, we're all overthinkers in general. And
Yeah.
I think investigation is like
amplified.
puzzles.
Mhm.
And when you present, you can literally pull a puzzle from like puzzles for toddlers. And when you present it to your players, they will suddenly all share one brain cell. And they'll be like, shit, bro, we got this square. We got a square hole. I don't know what the fuck we're supposed to do. Like, you know what
Putting
I'm
it in
We all
as a
turn into
diamond.
orange
Yeah. Then you wrote it.
it's not our turn with the brain cell either.
It's the dogs upstairs running around with their brains.
Also, sorry about the last episode. There was a lot of dog
Yeah, I got that
Noise.
dog in me. What can I say?
and just general
Whoa.
stomping upstairs, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry about all that background noise.
Yeah. Also, get
They'll
over it.
live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stinkies. But yeah, concept sick, setting sick.
Characters sick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick.
Module, Knights of Paintown, sick.
Very sick.
Ugh. Can't wait. And the new stuff that's coming out too, you guys.
What is it?
Is it a
So
different
good.
module?
It is. There's more.
Or is
to
it,
it.
does it add on to this? Or is it,
No,
like,
it's
completely
separate.
Okay.
There's a bunch of different characters and like different settings. Like they have the university that came out, and I was like, how cool would it be if we just got to use the university? But later, maybe.
I also think it would be really fun to run this game because you mentioned it a little bit during character creation, but running this game just as a crime syndicate
Oh yeah.
rather than being like
Yeah.
investigators.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the other cool thing to like for real. We could rerun this module as long as your players are not metagamers. You could rerun the same module and have them be a different side of it.
Mhm.
You could be a crime syndicate going after Martha and figuring out what's happening there. And then you get a completely different perspective off of the exact same module with the exact same players. And I think that's sick.
And it's
Mhm.
all written in there
It's free form enough that
that you can just. Okay.
Cool.
there are characters that you guys have not even heard of that I have not mentioned to you from the last 2 cases because they weren't relevant to your guys' trajectory. But had you been bad guys instead of good guys, you probably would have been like working with them in some capacity.
That's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's cool because the module gives you that flexibility. It's like, hey, like if they're baddies, they get hired by so-and-so. Or if they're good guys, like bring up Officer Das or
Cool.
whatever. So yeah, it's cool. It's really well written, in my opinion.
That's
This
awesome.
is also the only module I've ever.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh,
Done,
it does work
so.
really well with Officer Das. Wow, we accidentally picked things really well.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Good for us.
it's pretty cool.
Any other things that we want to mention?
We kind of mentioned it a little bit, and this doesn't have to be a whole thing, but I love the practical clues
Yes.
that come with this module.
The
And that's not
handouts are
going to be a
great.
thing
Oh, yeah.
for every single module or every single case that is pre-written. But I do think it's a nice touch. And if you're going to homebrew something or if you're going to use a case that doesn't necessarily have the practical stuff, I highly suggest just getting it anyway.
Like this pill bottle, you could just use an old pill bottle that's
Mhm.
empty.
Or if you-
Obviously,
Yeah, or if you like homebrewing, but Martha's still just a character, you can still just
Mhm.
have her thing, right? Like you
Yeah.
can find other uses for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's cool, and I think it's a fun
Mhm.
aspect for the players.
I love getting things.
Yeah.
It's so cool when the
Physical
DM hands you.
things.
You find this, and
It
the DM
makes me
hands you
so
something. That
happy.
shit's sick every time, bro. Like it could be something bad, and I'm still like, ooh, what is it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Things plural to steal from this game. The setting.
These.
Mhm.
Absolutely the setting. Adapt it to whatever the hell you want. If you want to run this setting as is, but with fucking D&D 5e for some reason,
For some reason.
you probably could, and
That's
it would
going
run
pretty far.
well.
I
Okay.
know.
Mhm.
Steal the stealing.
Yeah,
True.
there you go. The other one though is change the game. Now that one's going to be a little bit more difficult, but having more of a, I'm going to call it this. Feel free to interject if you think it's improperly worded, but I think it's a freeform spell, and I really, really like that. Having something like that. I mean, fuck. Have Pathfinder or D&D. Have your character a spellcast or roll Arcana, and then be like, "Well, you rolled like really, really good. What kind of a magical effect do you impose onto this person? Like, why the fuck not? Let your characters be cool."
Yeah, I would like to
Or-
caveat that with if you're gonna introduce something like change the game, I think change the game is sick. I want to make that really clear. I do think change the game in something like this is easy because you don't know what the characters are capable of because you don't know their mythos until you make them, right? So like there is no like. I think Pathfinder is a good example as to like why it might be hard because for a lot of like for a spellcaster in Pathfinder, there probably is just a spell for that, right?
True. Yeah.
And if there isn't, and you can like I think it is cool. It just comes into like GM philosophy, right? Like you should let your players be cool. And if my caveat would be your players should be able to explain why they should be able to do that thing, right? So if you're a spellcaster, you're a science guy, you're a fighty guy, whatever, wants to do something, and they tell you what they want to do, and like why it's in the realm of possibility for them, really cool. I think let them do it, bro.
Yeah.
Like
at the very least, what you
or
could
let them
do-
try it at least.
Yeah, definitely let them try it. And like, obviously, you're not going to just be all like, "Oh, you want to just level 1 cause a fucking
Tsunami.
Sure, roll. Oh, you got
Roll
a natural
tsunami.
20. You have a whole tsunami.
Town's
That's fucking
gone.
crazy.
Yeah.
But it also can lead to flavoring things
Yeah.
because
I
we
agree.
all used Change the Game, which is a move, and we flavored it so fucking different. So I guess if you're not going to be if you don't want to just have like a free form spell, one thing that you could adapt from this is like the philosophy of Change the Game
Mhm.
of flavoring things different.
Yes. I
My
agree with that
magic
completely.
missiles, they're little fucking puppies that get shot out and like will claw at the guy. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Like
Well, I think a good example would be from our Kingmaker campaign that you'll never ever hear. But there was at one point, I don't remember the spell. Don't come after me. I don't care. There's a spell for my druid that I had that was like, the way I read it, I was like, oh, I can just essentially like wilt flowers. And my mom is a fairy queen who's essentially a flower. So like I could just kill her. Listen, the context, don't worry about it. So I was really excited about that idea. And Damien was like, well, that's not really how the spell works, but I like where your head's at.
But you got
That's-
spunk, kid.
That's how we're going to rule this. But just in the future, that spell doesn't necessarily work that way. But I really like the idea, so we're going to go with it. Like that to me is a change the game type of moment, right?
Mhm.
Where like the concept's there, it's cool. Maybe it doesn't always work out that way. Like I'm not going to use this like wilting spell all the time to just like kill people left and right. But in that moment it makes sense. And so
Mhm.
I feel like like flavor wise,
yeah,
adapting.
There's another one of from one of your characters. You were wanting to use Mage Hand to like stabilize from a distance or something like that,
probably.
or like do a
I
heal check
don't
or
understand how
some shit.
any of the games work that we play. That sounds
But
like
yeah,
me.
you explained it a lot better. Just have change the game kind of moments
Mhm.
if you don't like have a free form spell thing that you can do.
Yeah, and I think that's something this game is very good about, is making those discussions between the player and the DM happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want to use all 5 of these power tags, and you're like, the 5th one doesn't really match up,
Mhm.
but I'll give you those first 4,
Mhm.
right? I think you should have those discussions no matter what game you're playing.
Mhm.
This game just really lends itself to that.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I want to do this cool thing. It might break the game. Will it break the game? The GM or MC? And the GM's like, maybe a little bit. Let's dial it back.
Mhm.
And like everyone's happy because you're in that middle ground where the story is not all about you. It's not
Mhm.
all about the GM. It's not all about the other player, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? You're collaborating.
Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
cute because other players are like, no, he should totally get that because
Yeah,
listen,
really.
I have listen.
Divide and conquer. Divide and
Yeah,
conquer.
or like, no, I don't think that works, bro. And they're like, yeah, you're probably right. And it's like that's cool to me because it's like another added layer of friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys explained it a lot better than I did.
And that's what I like about the game.
Yeah, I love that shit. And other games like that is a concept
artwork's
that's
good.
come up in like
Mhm.
Lady Blackbird, maybe one of the game where it's like, let's talk about what attributes apply.
Mhm.
I love that shit, bro. I think that shit should come up more often when we're like, yeah, bro, I ran track and field in high school. I got fucking a B- in my history class. Like you just pull shit out of your ass,
That's
right?
why I should be able to run through time.
Literally, yes.
Dude, yes.
And then they're like, shit, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then there you
Plus, I
are.
read all the Flash comics.
Yeah, no, and I feel like you said earlier, Wesley, like that makes it feel like being a kid again, where like you're like, hey, we're playing mermaids. I am the princess mermaid, and you are my friend mermaid, but you just got captured by the evil octopus, and me and my whale friend have to come save you. And like that sounds wild, but as a kid, like
You're like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Okay.
so like this.
Like, I have magic also.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the tag system kind of lets you do that as an adult because you're able to be like, I ran track and field in high school.
Read a history book one time.
Yeah, like,
Send me back there, coach. Like,
and as the MC, you're like, I can't argue with that.
you're like, sure,
Okay,
works
sick.
out.
You're a time traveler now, right? And I think that's
all you
cool.
need.
I think
Mhm.
it's fun, and it's very different. And I like the tag system.
It's fun,
Just
man.
this mechanic system is
It's like the
rough.
one stain I think in an otherwise almost perfect game is like, and I think like just reword it a little bit, take like merge some, and honestly, you got a game that I would just play forever.
Feels
right?
like we talked so much shit about it.
I know. I'm like, I love
Talking
that.
about all the cool stuff. We're like, all right, I mean, you just gotta tweak it a little bit.
Dude, I genuinely, if this sheet right here
Player moves cheat.
was a little different, this should be like 50 episodes long, bro. Like I wouldn't want to stop. Genuinely, it would be like
But I still don't.
I still don't,
wanna
right?
stop.
Like all my
That's-
complaints is it's so good.
And that speaks to how good this, like
dude.
the whole concept of this game is.
I would
We're
push
still
for it to
having
be
a
one of
great
my
time.
main games.
We're just confused.
If it wasn't so hard to read. And honestly, like and
Yeah.
another thing, this is like not even
Oh.
a complaint, just something to note. I don't know how like I've never DM'd like a mostly investigation game. It might be hard to homebrew. I don't know if that's you. For me, I feel like it would be hard to homebrew. I'm very short-sighted though, so pop off.
One other thing that I've been meaning to talk about for months, but I have not, and forgot to put in earlier when we were talking about it. But I do not think that this is a good game for brand new GMs. I think the only reason that I was able to skirt by, well, the only two reasons I was able to skirt by was one, Damien being willing to read through the rules after I had already read through them multiple times, and for him to be able to be like, Misty, here's how I interpreted it. And then for us to be able to talk through it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, let's try and implement that. Had I not had a Damien at our table, we would still be lost in sauce, and we probably would not like this game. I'm just
Get
going to say
yourself a rules nerd.
Yeah.
Praise be Damien.
the other reason I think I got away with it was because we've played so many different styles of game that I was able to kind of like hope and pray my way through the first little bit. Had I been a brand new GMing for the first time ever with one of the first games I've ever played, period, I don't see a world where this would be fun for you personally. So keep that in mind, because I do think you need to be a little bit more of an experienced GM. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's somebody out here who their very first game was City of Mist and they started as the GM. Love that for you. I just think it's a little bit too nuanced and a little too complicated on the GM side, trying to handle the player stuff and the MC stuff and the stories and all of that as like a first time GM. I highly do not recommend doing this as your very first game GMing.
I will second that on the player's side.
Yeah.
Because only
Don't start out with this game.
I don't think that you need to be a fucking grizzled TTRPG vet. But I do think that
Look
you
at all
need
my
to have
hits.
like a couple sessions under your belt when you approach this. Honestly, if you want to play this game as your first ever game, don't start with Lady Blackbird, play a one shot of that, move on to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be actually really well, like, because had we played Lady Lady Blackbird, like, right before this, I would have had a lot better concept just in my brain about how power tags work.
Yeah.
And I would have, like, gone around that. But it's been a while, and I've played lots of different games since then, and so I didn't have that fresh in my mind. And now it's like, wow, yeah, that's exactly how it's supposed. It's the same thing,
but different.
but different. Yeah, and I would have like, it would actually be. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know how to finish that sentence.
No, but I get you, Queen.
Yeah.
Like for absolutely.
I'm gonna say it, bro. I think if you take Lady Blackbird's gameplay mechanics and rip it from there and throw it in this game and blow up this sheet, it's a 10 out of 10, bro. It's.
I would never play anything.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, like that's the sauce. I don't know what to tell you. Like, call me Gordon Ramsay the way I be cooking on other people's games. But, like, it's just, oh man, oh shit, bro. It would be great. Like, oh my god.
But
I'm
also,
having
like, I
hot
have
flashes.
a million other games that I want to play.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it wouldn't be the only game, but it would be.
It'd be like the main game. I'd be
It'd be like-
make it in Spaceland, wherever we were in Lady Blackbird, or
I
wherever we
just
are now.
realized another idea. I'm sorry, another idea for like a character for this could be a GM.
Oh shit.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
You're the
that
game
is-
master.
That is so meta.
You just point to like the fucking
I'm
guy
God
in the
now.
mech suit and you're like, oh, you want to punch me? Roll for it.
That would be.
You can certainly
crazy.
try.
And then
You
he
hit him
fucking-
with.
That's
Nat
the tag.
20?
That's the tag.
You hit him with. Are you sure you want to do that?
You run up to one of the other players. How do you want to do it?
Oh man, this game's so fucking sick.
Wait. I really like it.
Yeah.
I like this game. The end.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
game's sick.
one of the tags could just be like, "Do you have that?" Is like, "Do you have that feat?" Or like, "Are you proficient in that skill or whatever?" And then they'll just be like, "Am I?"
Yeah, they start.
They doubt it.
The rule book says, and then
Ooh,
You get
rules
a you get
warrior.
a tag where you can like look at someone and you can see their stat sheet next to them.
Oh
so you can
my
see
God.
Oh,
my-
that would be really cool.
that would be crazy. This is such a whatever. This game's sick is what we're trying to say.
final verdict, this game is really good. Mechanics a little bit clunky. If you are a first time player to this, it's going to be a bit of an adjustment, but
Mhm.
do know that your creativity goes fucking wild.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Definitely not recommended for first time GMs.
Yeah.
Other than that, great game. Steal the setting.
We love it.
I do also want to say, if you play this with your homies at your table, you're not us, right? You are not beholden to trying out new and unusual games. You can just say fuck. You can just blow the sheet up and just roll for things, kind of like we were talking about earlier, and have a good time.
Or
and I
not.
think, or not. Just fucking
Yeah.
play the game,
Honestly,
whatever.
if we continue playing this and it's off mic, we probably will.
I'll
just blow
blow up the
rules a
sheet,
little bit.
yeah, and be like, "This is what I want to do. Roll or
Maybe
don't."
even on mic. We gave it the old college.
The good
try.
old college try. But I do highly recommend giving this game a try at some point. I think it's a blast.
Yeah.
With
Do it.
with the module or without, I think you'll have a hell of a time.
Agreed.
Before we sign off, I think this might be fun. Where do we rank this game in all the games that we've played thus far?
I don't know. We
Oh,
haven't ranked
no.
literally any of the games. So
I
I
I
Okay.
think cottages and
I would
Services
have
is
to
my
do
favorite.
mechanics and settings separate.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I
Yeah.
think it needs to be two separate categories because there are games where I've really enjoyed the mechanics, but I didn't quite like the setting. Or that's not fair. I like every game we play, in some aspect. But like, there's just such a distinct
Mm,
difference between the two, and like the perfect game has both, right?
Mhm.
But like,
yeah, Pathfinder.
Okay.
Hmm.
So mechanics wise,
I don't know.
Pretty
No, I know.
low.
I know. It's a meme. I have to.
think
Pretty
the
low.
nuance of having to mix them though does make the rating like that's what makes it right because you
Yeah.
can have
No,
a 10 out of-
let's separate it then.
I don't wanna.
As far as settings go, I think that this one is probably number 2. for
number
me.
2 for me,
What's number one?
cottages and services.
What about you?
For me, it's
Mm.
always Pathfinder. I
Oh,
really,
I thought we
really
were
like
talking
this.
about-
Oh,
Games we played on the
Game
podcast.
Yeah, we
played
have.
on the
Played.
pod.
Yeah, we
We
did.
have.
Oh shit! Hey,
Okay.
Clerks,
Hilarious.
baby.
That was a good one.
That
If you
was a
haven't
good
listened to
fucking-
that one, you should go listen to
Yeah,
that
I'm
one.
about to-
Honestly, it's worth the several hours of your life.
I'm not gonna lie. I put this setting over Pathfinder personally.
Yeah, same. Which
Number
is
one?
crazy because
Not number one, but over Pathfinder.
I love a traditional fantasy
What's your
setting,
number one?
but I do think I put this over Pathfinder.
Setting. My number one. I feel silly saying this. My number one setting is cottages and services.
No, that's
That's
was
fair,
mine.
dude.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm. Yeah, it's cottages and services. That
Damn.
shit's sick.
Cottages and services might be my like.
It's up there.
Don't make me choose.
It's
Yeah.
gameplay. What like we're not. It's up there. It's a good fucking game. Cottages and services is a good fucking game.
Tengo
mechanics-
estrés. This is like not easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is hard.
Yeah.
Sorry to spring this
No,
on you.
it's
Mechanics
stressed.
wise, I think this game is above Potato RPG. Easy.
We struck Yukon Gold.
Stop it.
That's the only
I hate
one.
that I made that joke.
I think it's above that. Above most of like Adventure Skeletons. You know those
Yeah, a lot of
one-page
our
kinds of
one-shots,
ones. Above Lady Blackbird.
I disagree.
Yeah.
Mechanically,
You're
disagree.
fucking nuts.
Really?
Respectfully, like you are entitled
More
to your
rules
opinion.
Doesn't make it.
It's wrong.
I would
Yeah.
say, with Damien's opinion,
It's wrong opinion.
Damien is more
Wordy.
He likes crunchy,
Crunchy.
stuff.
He loves
He's more
That's
crunchy.
what I
Okay,
said.
this
Yeah.
guy's
So-
a
Call me
nerd.
That's
granola.
fair.
No, that's not the same.
I mean,
Granola not crunchy.
it can't.
It's
Like
got
if you put
crunch.
milk on it,
There's
anyway.
chewy granola.
But so I think it's fair that you
There's
rank
chewy granola.
Lady Blackbird lower because you
Okay.
do like crunchier things.
Mhm.
I,
This guy likes
however,
rules.
hate
Crunch.
underscore
She loves oatmeal.
bold italicize hate crunchy things. So for me, Lady Blackbird is actually on like my higher end of mechanics.
Mm.
I am a
So
simple
I
man.
think that's just one of those things where like we all are like, Damien, how dare you? But like
Mhm.
I think that's fair for you.
No,
to
I
say,
think it's valid.
like-
valid,
yeah.
valid. What is your favorite? What is your favorite game mechanically? And then where is this mechanically?
my favorite game mechanically?
That isn't Pathfinder.
That's hard. That's tough. Mechanically, Fallout. I think.
Oh, okay.
I really like the
That's
whole
true.
2d20 system. I really like how it plays in. I like how pretty much everything there meshes well with like the setting and all the mechanics feel like they kind of like go hand in hand with the game, like the video game.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that one is number one.
And
If
we're-
I can't put Pathfinder up there, because Pathfinder it has rules for everything, and you know I love the fucking rules.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Mechanically, okay, maybe a hot take. Bunkers and Badasses, I think, is my favorite because it felt so video gamey. It knew what it was and it really leaned into it with like you have potions, you have a shield to work with, you've got all sorts of crazy stuff that stacks on each other. Like Bunkers and Badasses really knew what it was mechanically, and that added to the setting of Bunkers and Badasses, which is not my favorite, right? I have not been able to finish a Borderlands game.
Same.
You said same?
Same.
Oh,
not
okay.
Also, yeah.
Thank you.
We're also
okay.
different, you and I.
Yeah, not everyone agrees with me on that.
Yeah, I
Damien.
also got a lot of pushback on that.
But I felt like the mechanics married really well with the setting, and so that made it like a very cohesive game. And so I really liked the mechanics in there. I really liked the mechanics in Fallout. Star Wars was okay. I felt like the dice were a little rough starting out, but I liked the narrative aspect. And then all the way right around the index cards and the one shots is
this one?
This game, yeah.
I would actually put this one with Bunkers. I think mechanics.
Is that
wise.
like mid
mid?
on your tier list?
So like a
Okay.
5.
You had your nose?
See, I'd give it like a 3 mechanics wise.
I
I'm
lost
not a
it.
fan of it.
Where would you put it?
And also, what is your favorite game mechanically?
I too am a simple person, and so
You're my favorite.
I don't like this. It makes me feel this game, the mechanics aspect of it makes me feel kind of dumb. I still don't understand it. Like, you guys seem to have a grasp on things,
I don't.
but I don't even know I have no idea which thing to choose.
Mhm.
And so I've just been like, hey guys,
What sounds good?
what is this?
Mhm.
Tell
Yep.
me. So,
So pretty low then.
but because
mechanically.
I am a simple person, I'm gonna put it down Down.
To the
Okay.
bottom of the sea.
Yeah, not like the bottom. I'm sure
Oh,
there's
never
other
mind.
ones that were like the potato game didn't really have much to it.
We struck the Congo.
The potato game had no mechanics.
Yeah, no, we literally didn't do anything. We were just like, he rolled, or we rolled, and then we'd be like,
An orc shows up.
grandma's a
What
goat
does that
or
mean?
something. I don't know.
I'm so sad I missed that game.
You should listen to it if you.
I
feel
will,
Like,
I will, I will, I
feel
will.
like you would think it's really funny.
It sounds funny.
because you can just hear Damien being like, "This is awful,"
Just
and the
screaming
rest of
inside.
us
Are having a
just
blast.
being wild, which doesn't happen as often.
Yeah, Kim Kardashian comes up.
That's crazy.
Don't tell me how Kim Kardashian
Yeah, I was like,
associates
she's
with
a
orcs
hobbit.
and
Oh yeah, because
Because of
she's a
South
hobbit.
Park. Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
in South Park, bitches, you a hobbit?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite phrases, and I wish I could use it more often.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now, like if someone's like, "I want breakfast," again, I'm just, I want to say that, but no one ever's like, "I'm gonna have second breakfast."
Dude, I'll bring it up more often.
I
I'll be like,
love-
"Dude, let's have breakfast for dinner," and then you can say,
Bitch, are you a hobbit?
Bitches, you a hobbit?
Sorry,
"Thank
spell
you."
that for me.
I'll have to call you.
I'll just
Just 'cause
suggest
she-
breakfast for dinner from now on.
What is your favorite game mechanically, though? Like, what game? Even if you can't pinpoint a favorite, what are some games that you really, really like mechanically? If you can't pick a favorite,
I do really like Lady Blackbird because I love arguing.
yeah, that's my shit.
Honestly, cottages and Cerberus because there's so much freedom there. Like, you can do so much. There's just, I don't know, man. There's a lot of options,
Mm-hmm.
and you can flavor it however you want, and it's simple enough that like someone new to TTRPGs can easily pick it up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the kind of game. Well, I like. It's not that I don't like rules. Rules are there for a reason, and rules can make games really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And like they add like stress in a positive way. But like it's just a nice game with mechanics that make sense
Mm-hmm.
or like don't make sense in a really good way.
Mm-hmm. Valid.
It's very user friendly.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's
It is
looking at Missy.
interesting to see what we all like.
Yeah.
Like cuz I like user friendly
Mm-hmm.
rules.
Mechanics wise, I really like Lady Blackbird. I think that one's my favorite. Although I do also really like Fallout.
Yeah.
Because I think that the introduction of the like D6s where it's like it tells you whether or not you hit and the D20 with all of the body parts.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I really like that, and I will never not like that, and to me that feels really special mechanics wise. I would probably put City of Mist at like a 3 or 4 mechanics wise. I think it could be like Wesley was saying earlier, like if you just used Lady Blackbird mechanics, then it would be 10 out of
The
10
single
for me.
perfect game.
Yeah.
That's
But
alongside Pathfinder, of course.
Yeah,
and
naturally.
keeping in change the game.
Yeah.
But I do think like it was just so hard for me to learn and so frustrating for me to learn. Like I spent a decent amount of time trying to learn the game on my own, and I thought I had it, and then we started playing, and I was like, wow, I absolutely do not have this, and that's really disheartening. And hopefully other people are better at reading than I am, so that they don't have that experience. But like that in and of itself, like I don't want to play a game that makes me feel bad because I don't understand the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
that's why I would say it's down at like 3 or 4 for me.
Cool. I think we should do this every time.
Me too.
But that's
Um,
mechanics wise. Setting wise. City of Mist was a 10.
Yeah.
9.8.
I think my favorite. I have a caveat for my mechanic favorite. I think mechanically overall, my favorite game is Nova. Because I feel
Oh,
That one was really good.
Yeah.
Nova
you just
was really
you
good.
feel really cool, but you don't
Yeah.
feel like you don't feel broken amongst your comrades because they're also really cool, and you have so many different mechs. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like the gameplay makes you feel really cool.
if
Yeah.
you
And I
just
like
want to
that.
boost your ego,
Yeah, dude. And it's like
do it. Play that.
everyone's really like everyone did crazy shit. I felt like in that game,
Yeah.
but with the caveat that Force and Destiny has my favorite character growth system that we've played so far.
Yeah.
That shit's
Good point.
sick.
There's
Those
just so many
trees, yeah.
subcategories.
Yeah, dude. And, like you
That
can
is
start
like,
you can start
this
with
one's-
the same exact character and then level up 6 times and you're 2 completely different characters. Not even 6 times, level up 3 times and you're pretty different, right? Like I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree.
I think this game mechanically, it's hard because I think we make it work because we're Pog, right? I think it's my least favorite mechanically, this game.
Mhm.
Which is crazy because I would still say like, please play it. Like I think it's worth. I'm not saying the game's bad. I think it reads it weird. I think the rules are written weird. I just think the rules are weird, in a way that is detrimental to the game. And with other games that aren't my favorite mechanically, I didn't feel like the mechanics were inherently detrimental to the game. But I do feel that way in this case. So that's why I'm putting it at my least favorite.
Yeah.
Mechanically.
I agree.
I'm with you there.
And I agree. I think we should do this from time to time. Probably like if we had other content where we just rambled, we could talk about favorite mechanic systems.
Maybe like
favorite
some
settings.
kind
Rambling.
of reject.
Yeah, something like that.
Something.
Whatever.
Um,
Coming soon to internet near
Reject.
you.
speaking
internet?
time.
What are you,
Um,
80?
Show and tell.
All right. I think we've been rambling for a
Yeah, we-
fucking minute.
I think we have.
Closing thoughts? Oh, I think we just did that. Unless
Yeah.
someone has other closing thoughts.
Yeah, you stink.
Yeah, you smell like bad.
Later, nerds.
Bye, guys.
Deuces.
All right, wait, should we announce
And
it? Have we
besties,
already
we
announced the next
Bye.
game?
The next game is
Oh,
Call of Cthulhu.
Ooh.
DM'd by?
Thanks for listening all the way to now to hear that. If you don't, sorry, you're not listening to this.
GM'd by Joseph.
Why do you have to tell them?
deuces and besties we
What
trust.
did you want? Yes.
The order is in.
Cool.
I'll let everyone know when it's gonna be
All
delivered.
right, dibs on taking
Yeah,
first.
dibs on these.
I dibs. And that's fine.
I dibs. I
You
literally
did give
announced.
us the condition.
Yeah,
That's fair.
you one head.
That's not nice.
Dibs?
Are you listening?
To what?
Jesus.
Are you listening
I don't-
to my dibs?
I don't think you want to dibs this, though.
Is it?
Oh yeah,
noodles?
you
Oh.
hate gluten. Yeah, you
Aw.
fuck it. You can have them all, bro, and I'll watch you eat them.
Oh my gosh.
You know what?
I'll even feed them to you.
Done.
Maybe they're gluten free.
They have gluten-free options, I think. Maybe
Oh.
they don't. I might be pulling that out of my house.
Oh. What a
Enjoy
roller
never
coaster.
shitting again.
Goodness gracious. That is an awful thing to wish on someone.
He wants to eat the gluten noodles.
I think it's gonna be the
The
opposite. effect.
gloodles.
The noodles.
Are you
That's
bantering?
terrible.
Is that what we're doing right now? Hey,
Yeah.
welcome to an ad.